Evening, welcome to the, are we live? Yeah, good evening, welcome to the July meeting of the Niskayuna Zoning Board of Appeals. Mr. Kenny, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Lateef?
Here.
Mr. Dolman is not here yet. Ms. Pacheco?
Here.
Mr. Daly?
Here.
Mr. Trimarchi? Did he connect? Mr. Stein?
Here.
Mr. Antonikowski?
Here.
Chairperson Hoke?
Here. The first matter on the agenda is a review of the June meeting minutes from June 23rd. Is there any discussion on the minutes from June 23rd? Mr. Trimarchi's here now. You want to add him in? Do you want to note his appearance?
Peter, can you just say hello?
Hi, Peter Trimarchi here.
Okay, so the first matter on the agenda this evening is a review of the June 23rd meeting minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to review those minutes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Is there any discussion on those minutes? Having heard no discussion, does anybody want to make a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve.
A motion's been made. Is there a second to
I'll
that?
second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Mr. Kenny, we call the roll, please.
Mr. Lateef?
Yes.
Ms. Pacheco?
Yes.
Mr. Daly?
Yeah.
Mr. Trimarchi?
Yes.
Mr. Antonikowski?
Yes.
Chairperson Hoke?
Yes. Is that the only minutes? Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't get to the other ones.
Okay. Will you call the first matter on the agenda for this evening?
Appeal by Jeff Palumbo, agent, to appeal the January 28th, 2025 interpretation from the Planning Department that a use variance is required for the proposed expansion of the pre-existing non-conforming business at 2349/2339 Troy Schenectady Road, Niskayuna, New York, located in the R1 low-density residential zoning district. 0 notices were mailed.
Okay, with respect to this matter, Mr. Palumbo, are you present? Mr. Palumbo?
I am here, yes.
Okay, Mr. Palumbo, you're appearing tonight on behalf of the appellant, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so since our last meeting, the appellant has submitted some additional documentation and affidavits that the appellant was seeking to have the board consider. At this point in time, the board members have not had an opportunity to review all of that material, nor is a representative of the town present to potentially respond to that material. So we're going to continue to have the record stay open until the September meeting to allow both the appellant's additional information to be considered, as well as allow the town to respond, as well as have all the board members have an opportunity to contemplate that additional information. Are there any questions about that, Mr. Palumbo?
No, that is very reasonable and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. So that matter will not be considered further this evening, and we will revisit that on our September meeting. Mr. Kenny, we call the next matter on the agenda this evening.
Appeal by William Rogers for a variance from section 220-18B2 of the zoning ordinance of the town of Niskayuna as it applies to the property at 755 Hampshire Seat, Niskayuna, New York, located in the R1 low-density residential zoning district, to install a shed exceeding the number of accessory structures on a lot. Section 220-18B2 states that there shall not be more than 3 accessory structures on a lot. Currently, the property has 4 pre-existing accessory structures: a fence, a shed, a pool, and a pool deck. The applicant committed to removing and replacing the pre-existing shed. So as proposed, the new shed will be the 4th accessory structure. Therefore, a variance for 1 accessory structure is required. 9 notices were mailed, 0 responses.
Will the applicant please come forward, please?
Sure, I'm on the Zoom call right now.
Oh, okay.
Bill Rogers, 755 Hampshire Seat. Can you hear me all right?
Yes. Your name again, sir?
Bill Rogers, 755 Hampshire Seat.
Okay, why don't you tell us about why you need the new shed?
Perfect. Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. Thank you for
Oh.
this opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here to respectfully request an area variance to replace a deteriorating shed that has been on my property.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Can
Rogers.
you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Mr. Rogers. Just give me a second. Mr. Tremike's
Okay.
not with us any longer? Okay. Okay, so, Mr. Rogers, we have
Yes.
a small situation here in that we now only have 6 members of the board. We're a 7-person board. You have the opportunity to come back at the next meeting when we have a full complement of all 7 members, or you can proceed this evening.
Understood.
You're still
I'd like
gonna
to
need
proceed this evening if
You
that's all
still,
right.
just so I'm clear, you still need 4 affirmative votes in order to have your variance granted. You understand that, correct?
Understood.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, go forward, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm here to respectfully request an area variance to replace a deteriorating shed that's been on my property for decades. When I purchased the home in 2015, the existing pool deck, and shed were already in place. A year later, in 2016, I applied for and was granted a permit to install a fence along the rear of the property. At that time, I was unaware that this would be considered a 4th accessory structure. It wasn't until this year, when I submitted a permit application to replace the aging shed, that I learned the fence had caused my property to exceed the allowable number of accessory structures, resulting in the permit being denied. I'm seeking this variance to remedy that situation and to ensure the property remains safe, well-maintained, and keeps with the character of the neighborhood.
Sir, Mr. Rogers, the new shed, what's the size of it in comparison to the old shed?
Yeah, so the current shed is, it's 8 by 12. The new shed will be 10 by 12, and it's 11 feet tall, and it would follow the 5-foot setback that's in the zoning rules on both the back and side of the properties.
Okay, so it's slightly larger in terms of
Really.
square footage. How about height? How much larger in height is it?
In height, it's 1 foot taller.
1 foot.
Currently, I'm 10 foot, and this would be 11 foot.
Okay. And I see that you're moving the shed from one side of your yard to the opposite side of the yard, correct?
That is correct.
And why? And
Well,
why are
the
you?
reason are you asking me why I'm doing that?
Yeah, yes, sir. Why are you doing that?
Sure.
Yes,
The
sir.
reason why I'm doing that is because I have young children, and by moving it to the opposite side of the yard, I have a larger play area for my children, not only on my property, but the adjoining property that's owned by a family member. So we go back and forth on that side of the yard quite frequently, but more than anything, it would just give them a larger play area.
Okay, and with respect to the neighbor that's closest to the new shed installation, have you discussed the installation with that neighbor?
Yes, I've actually submitted 6 letters from my closest neighbors around me, all in approval of this change, knowing that the new structure would not only keep with the character of the neighborhood, but would use vinyl siding that matches my home, and it would just add a nice aesthetic look to the area. Where we're looking to put it would actually be pretty well hidden because the land behind me is undeveloped. And then on the left side, we have lilac bushes that are almost 12 feet tall as well, coming out about 15 feet towards the front of the property. So that side of the shed would be completely hidden by that. And then on the other side, it would be, it's actually my sister's home, but that would be the opposite side, and she would see that. And she was one of the people that submitted the letters.
Okay. And one of the letters is from the neighbor on the neighbor closest to the new shed installation, right?
Both sides of my home, yes.
Okay. And
Um,
I'm sorry, Mr. Rogers. Mr. Kennedy, do we have copies of those letters? Okay. We haven't received copies of those letters. But
Well, if you'd like this, I can pull them up on the screen. I emailed them in to the building department.
hold on, we're gonna check and look for those letters. Well, while that's going on, why don't I ask if any other members of the board have questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a few questions. You mentioned the size of the old shed was approximately 8 by 12 previously or currently?
Yes,
And
yes.
the new shed is going to be 10 by 12 in footprint?
yes, yes.
I've got a question for our team. In terms of the footprint, does that trigger another need for variance at 120 square feet for a structure?
Sorry, I was trying to find the letters, but I believe it's 120 square feet or less can
Okay,
be 5 feet.
okay.
So 121 square feet triggers the major, but 120 square feet or less, so 12 by 10 is fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that for myself as well as for my colleagues. And the new shed, in terms of its construction, you said it's going to be similar to what you've got?
It's not going to be similar in how it's constructed, in that the shed that I have right now is not only very old, but it was very poorly constructed. It's rotting, and we have issues with rodents living in there and other animals in the wintertime because of the holes in it. But this is going to be vinyl sided, and it's going to match the appearance of the home. If you would like to see the construction data sheet, I can pull it up and share it with you. It's classic sheds, and I know that you've had appeals in the past with classic sheds, and they've shown those build instructions, data sheets. Would you like to see that?
Well, I think unless my colleagues would like to see them, I'm looking at what you submitted and I see the three-dimensional view of it. The roof is a peaked roof, correct?
Yes, it's a peaked roof. That is correct.
And where will the water run off of that? Is it going to go to the side, toward your neighbor to the side, or to the neighbor in the back?
Well, one of it's going to go to the neighbor in the side, and one is going to go to my side of the property. That is correct.
Okay, and if you can describe your backyard, I know there were a few pictures in the application where this is going to be placed. Is that the lowest part of your rear yard?
No, my property is, it's actually, it does go up a little bit from the rear of the home. I would say maybe 1 or 2 feet to the rear of the yard, but this is pretty much the flattest area in my yard in terms of where to put the shed and level it off so that there wouldn't be much runoff in either direction of either home.
Thank you.
Sure.
Are there any other questions? Okay.
I have a question. Laura, can the 2016 fencing permit that is mentioned here?
Yes.
Was there anything in there about that causing an issue?
No, it actually should have been cited at that time. It was an oversight by the building inspector, so it wasn't caught then. I believe when we were looking, he was focusing in on the fences, and I think when he looked at the plot plan, it didn't show the shed, but it was installed. It just didn't show it. So when he was doing the permit, it wasn't caught then, but it should have been caught at the installation of the fence, and then they would have come for the fence for the fourth accessory structure. It was caught now, so that he's going to take the old shed down, and then the new shed would be the fourth accessory structure.
Okay, thank you.
I've just got one question regarding the picture that's submitted. There's a box with the shed to be installed and an arrow with the shed to be removed. On the very left-hand corner of that picture, what exactly is that? What's to the left-hand upper side of that picture?
Are you currently viewing the picture right now?
I am, yes.
Let me pull that up because I don't see that on the screen.
It's the
Photograph.
It's the photograph. It's a satellite photo. Yep. It appears
Oh,
to be in the
okay.
neighbor's, one of the neighbor's yards. Yes, in the upper.
Yes. Yep. Okay. So on the left side, there are lilac bushes that are going to exceed the height of the shed. and come out further than the shed will come into the yard. So it's going to be pretty well hidden. And then behind the shed is the 6-foot fence.
Okay, but,
And if you look at the, I'm sorry.
yeah, so directly under the word installed, there's, I can't make it out exactly what that is. That's to the back of
Yeah.
the shed.
Let me pull that up because it looks like the resolution on that is not very good. And I do have the picture of that. Oh, yeah, so directly behind it, that entire area, that lot is undeveloped, so there's bushes and trees, and you can't really see anything developed, but it's all just tree line. We have trees that are probably 50 feet tall that go along that entire fence line, and then bushes and shrubs that come up to the top of the fence on the other side as well.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Anything further? Okay, does anybody want to make a motion relative to this application? Oh, is there any members of the public that wish to be heard on this application? Having heard none, would any member of the board like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion to approve this variance. I think the applicant demonstrated to us his plan for the new shed. It was our mistake back when he got the variance for the fence in 2016. And now he's kind of coming back to fix the mistake that happened back then. I like the new design that he's presenting to us here and he's gonna have on the property. Also, he had letters from the neighbors. We didn't see the letters, but I'm gonna believe the gentleman that he's saying that he had some letters from the neighbors to, they don't have any issues with it. And the old shed was undesirable, but the new shed looks like it's gonna be desirable. The applicant moving it to the other side because he needs access to have his kids have more playground in the back, and it seemed very reasonable. The request is not substantial in this case because we allow 120 square feet usually as long as you have a 5 feet setback. Does it have any adverse physical or environment? It's not going to have any in this case. And again, he's replacing an old shed with a new shed. So all this is going to be good. Is it self-created? We can assume it is. But again, he's replacing an old shed and moving it to the other side. So for all these reasons, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to approve it.
Thank you. Motion's been made. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second to that for all the reasons stated.
All right, a motion's been made and seconded. Mr. Kenny, we call the roll, please.
Mr. Lateef?
Yes.
Ms. Pacheco?
Yes, and I'll add for the applicant, thank you for your thorough application. And I'll recognize as well that moving the shed to the other side of the property helps avoid an easement on the other side where the existing shed is sitting. So that's an important factor as well. Thank you for putting that in your application.
Mr. Daly?
Yes, for all of his reasons stated.
Mr. Stein?
Yes, for all the reasons stated, and I'll add that I actually don't think this is self-created because, yeah, the town missed it back in 2016 and the shed's been there the whole time.
Mr. Antonikowski?
Yes, for the reasons stated.
Chairperson Hoke?
Yes, for the reasons stated. Your variance has been approved. Good luck with the
Thank
project.
you, Chairman.
Yep.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a good one. Mr. Kenny, we call the next matter, please.
Appeal by Chris Laflamme, agent for a variance from section 220-25B1A of the zoning ordinance of the town of Niskiuna as it applies to the property 875 Stark Avenue, Niskiuna, New York, located in the R2 medium density residential zoning district to maintain a 6-foot fence exceeding the height limit in the side yard. Fence Section 220-25B1A permits the maximum height for fences located in the front and side yards to be 4 feet. As constructed, a 6-foot high fence is located in the side yard. Therefore, a 2-foot fence height variance is required. 13 notices were mailed, 0 responses.
Sir, you state your name and address for the record, please.
Chris Laflamme, 1370 Row Road, representing my client at 875 Stark.
Okay, and you're the contractor that installed the fence?
No, actually, this is a pre-existing non-conforming accessory structure. My client had purchased the home, and I'm just representing him to help him out based on the schedule. It's actually his daughter's home. She is recently divorced, and she has 2 young girls who live with her. Part of the reason why they bought the house was some of the privacy that the house provided in the
Okay.
neighborhood.
All right, well, let me just correct you. It's not a pre-existing non-conforming use, or it's not a pre-existing non-conforming structure because it wasn't there, as you can see, prior to 1971, right? So
So not pre-existing
So you
that,
still
but
have-
pre-existing to their ownership.
understood. So you would admit, though, that we're talking about the wood fence there that exceeds the back corner of their property, right? The
The,
fence can start at the back corner of their property and run backwards, right?
on the north side, it's a complete north side of the property that. the
Well, you don't
fence-
need a variance for the complete fence. You just need it from the back corner of the fence, the back corner of the property, the house, forward towards the street.
On the north side,
Yes. No, we have Mr. Dolman. Thank you, though. That's a good call. It's definitely something that I could easily have missed. Thank you, Mr. Dolman. So I guess what I'm trying to ascertain is how many panels go up from the back corner of the property, okay, to where it intercedes with the white vinyl fence?
I believe it's like 13 or 14.
Well, it looks like the whole length of it would be 13 or 14 panels, right?
So I don't have the specific answer to that question, but that fence does not carry the full length of the property. It only goes to probably 3 panels, 4 panels past the back of the house.
So there's 3 or 4 panels that you need the variance for here, correct?
Uh,
Yes, that's my understanding.
on the side of the house,
Yes,
yeah, probably 4.
4 panels, okay. So, why can't we just remove those panels and you wouldn't need a variance?
My client wanted to express their concerns about the bedrooms being on the first floor. The houses are kind of close together. Their windows are eye level. So they were mainly concerned with what they would lose with privacy and security.
Okay, well, are the bedrooms on the first floor or the second floor?
I think both, but there's a bedroom on the first floor. There's a room that they use as a bedroom on the first floor.
And where's that, and that
It's
is,
toward the back. It's on the north side rear of the house,
okay.
kind of aligned with the window you can see on the neighbor's house.
Ms. Robertson, the vinyl fence, that's non-conforming as well. There's no variance for that fence?
The vinyl fence was installed without a building permit and is currently under enforcement in the building department right now. The permit for it was denied. The white vinyl fence was not put up with any variance or building permit.
So when vinyl fence is going to come down, and it seems like if we just removed a couple of panels and you could then connect with the back corner of your property or the property, that would seem to, I mean, the fence runs the whole property line, right? So it's not just a couple of panels to provide privacy near the house.
It is the panels that are between the 2 homes are what my client's specifically requesting a variance for. And then they are also asking for a fence to cut off so they can use the yard with security for their kids and maybe a pet.
Okay, so they're looking for another variance to basically carry forward the vinyl fence across the, okay.
They
across-
would use whatever material the board suggests, but I understand that the one next door, it sounds like is under contention. It may have to be removed. There are several things that don't appear to align with code in the neighbor's property. And it's part of why my client would like to have some security that fence provides them.
Well, if we're going to take down, if they're going to be required to take down their fence, why would your client then have, why would they have a superior right to put up a fence there? I guess that's what I'm trying to ask.
They wouldn't, they would be fine with a 4-foot
Okay, they'll put a 4-foot fence there.
in the front.
Okay, well, why couldn't they just carry a 4-foot fence down those 3 panels that on the side and we could be done with this?
So because of the security concerns,
Okay, and what exactly are the security concerns?
just what I had said.
Well, you said that they're concerned about people, well, looking into their window, correct?
Specifically neighbors.
Okay, well, couldn't we just put some window shades or something on the windows and then you wouldn't need the fence at all?
From inside the house, yep, and then from outside the house, they have the same concern, you know.
Okay, well, what is unique to this property that wouldn't be present in lots of properties?
It's just the properties that are the specific properties. The current condition, and the residents that live in the properties.
Well, what is so unique about them? I mean, are they on the FBI's 10 most wanted list? I'm trying to ascertain what is unique about those. I'm not trying to be flip. I'm trying to.
No, and I can't give you specifics, but
Okay.
there are concerns about the activities next door.
What are those activities and concerns about?
I wouldn't want to disclose something that's not.
Okay, well,
but,
sure. You have the burden of proof, sir. I'm just trying to figure out.
no, I don't want to say something that may not be accurate, but I was,
Okay, I appreciate that as
yeah.
well. I'm going to stop talking and ask other people on the board if they have questions. Okay.
Sure.
Are there any other members of the board that have questions?
Yes, Chairman, I have a few questions.
you are.
Hi, Chris, how are you?
How are you?
Good. Relative to the height of the fence, would your client consider having it lower than 6 feet?
They're going, so we're here because we had a conversation about things that may or may not have been approved through the process of the town. My client, our neighbor, our resident neighbor, wants to be 100% to code. We learned that there were many improvements to the home that were not filed and permitted. He's since it filled out the application and getting those permitted. He's had the town come and do assessments and inspections. So he wants to be completely above board. And I say it's a father-daughter situation. It was a recent divorce. Those can be messy. Security is a big deal. Why they bought the house had a lot to do with the fence, quite frankly. But nonetheless, to answer your question, they're trying to make sure that they meet all the requirements of the town and the board. So they will do whatever you recommend, right? That is an option, of course. We're coming to the zoning board for a variance.
Right, and what we're trying to do is understand if there's some pliability on behalf of the applicant to think of other methods to achieve the security that you're looking for, or that they're looking for. For example, we see, it looks like new shrubs on the right-hand side of the photo that's being shared. Was that considered as an option in addition to a shorter fence that meets the criteria of the zoning?
Yeah, those shrubs were placed there by the prior owner, I think in part because of the concerns with the activities next door. And that's their effort to provide additional buffering, maybe shielding, some security, sense of security. Taking down the fence is going to remove that. So that's why, we're going to look at all the options. If this is not approved, shades for the interior, certainly. Something maybe that they can grow that would grow high enough, like those types of plants in their yard, be a little bit, close to the fence in the house for drainage, but it could certainly be done. It would just take a while to get there.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Laflamme. Are there any members of the audience that wish to be heard for or against this application? Having heard no other members of the public that wish to be heard, I'm going to ask if anybody wishes to make a motion relative to this application. I will make a motion. Unfortunately, sir, my motion is going to be to deny your variance application. I appreciate that you don't come before the zoning board all the time. We are fairly restrictive with respect to 6-foot fences. Every property is somewhat unique, so we give everybody a fair shake in terms of meeting the criteria that we have to apply when we're ascertaining whether to grant a variance or not grant a variance. But we do apply the criteria strictly when it comes to 6-foot fences. And it's not necessarily my personal feeling with respect to 6-foot fences or any other member of the board. But the issue is, you know, from my perspective, one of my concerns is always uniformity and consistency with respect to applying this, because they are very common applications. Okay. I have seen exactly what you're looking for dozens of times since I've been on the board. So I'm always concerned about treating people differently based upon very similar circumstances. Okay. So when we're applying the criteria that we have to apply, can the benefit be achieved by other feasible means? Well, we've gone through some of the other feasible means that we could achieve the same benefit that you're seeking, the privacy with shades and blinds. Also putting a shorter fence and coupling that with arborvitaes would substantially create the same type of situation that you're looking for here. Also, you're only limited with respect to the fence to the back corner of the property, but I understand that doesn't necessarily address your concern. But you know, with respect to the front placement of the panel blocking off the entire part of the yard, that would also be potentially problematic because your neighbor is in enforcement over the same panel on his. It's not your property, I understand, on their parcel.
Sure.
So from my perspective, there are other means to achieve what you're looking to do there. So with respect to that criteria, it's not made. With respect to an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood, Niskayuna's code expresses a preference against 6-foot fences, and the reason, my understanding of one of the reasons behind the code is that we want neighbors to be able to interact with each other. We don't want to have, you know, a community filled with fences. That's expressed in the code. So I think any 6-foot fences inherently establish an undesirable change in the neighborhood to a certain extent. That can obviously be mitigated in various circumstances, but I don't think that's present in your particular case. Whether the request is substantial for the same reason, I think it is a substantial request. Although we are only talking about a number of panels. Again, it's significant in the context of Niskayuna and how we typically interpret the code with respect to 6-foot fences. I don't necessarily think it would create any adverse physical or environmental effects. And every variance application is self-created to a certain extent. In your particular case, the owner's particular case, since they bought the property with the fence, I'll suggest that it wasn't self-created in that it came with the property. And I give the owner credit for trying to bring the property to code, and I certainly not trying to penalize the owner for doing so. But so for that reason, I think that mitigates against the application. However, when I balance all those factors together, with the first factor being the most important in my mind, whether there's other feasible means to achieve the ends, I have to vote to deny the variance. I'm only one vote, but that's my motion, and I'm going to see if there's a second to that. The motion's been made? Is there a second to that motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Ms. Shickety, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Lateif,
I'm gonna vote yes to deny. And Mr. Hoke has explained everything. And I think the applicant has mentioned that they can do a 4 feet, and that should be no problem if they go with 4 feet in the front.
Mr. Dolman,
I'm going to vote no to the motion to deny, and I'd like to give my reasons. I do think that the benefit can be achieved by other means and landscaping options that we've made available to many members of the public in the past. However, there is a mitigating factor here because of the unique situation and the perceived benefits of the homeowner when they purchase the property. I don't find that this is an undesirable change in the neighborhood only because it was pre-existing and is not a change, and because there is already a 6-foot fence next to it. Understanding they're an enforcement, however, the change will occur if we deny. This is a substantial request, absolutely. There's no reason to have no reason to believe there's an adverse environmental impact. And I don't believe this is self-created for the reasons others have stated. So while it's very close, and our chairman is correct that we are very strict when it comes to 6-foot fences,
Understood.
I would vote no on the motion to deny.
Ms. Pacheco?
I vote yes on the motion for similar reasons to my colleagues. And note that it seems the difficulty that they're trying to overcome is the activity on the other side of the fence, which they don't control. So in that case, I don't believe that's self-created, but on the balance of the other factors, I vote yes.
Mr. Daly?
I'm going to vote yes for all the reasons stated. There were excellent reasons, and I vote yes.
Mr. Stein?
I'm going to vote yes for the reasons stated.
Mr. Antonikowski?
A yes for the reasons stated.
Chairperson Hoag?
Yes, for the reasons stated. Thank you, sir, for coming in this evening. You presented your case very well, but unfortunately, the variance has been denied by a vote to 6-1. Okay.
Thank you for the detailed response. It was kind of what I was expecting, but I did I had one question. When you were asking me about sections, were you,
Well, we're kind of finished. I don't know that I'm not a fence guy, so I don't want to give you a bad answer, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, but Laura might be able to help you out, okay? Thank you, sir. Can we call the next matter, please?
Appeal by AJ Sign Company, agent for a variance from section 220-22A, 10A2, section 220-4, and section 220-22A, 10A6 of the zoning ordinance of the town of Niskiuna as it applies to the property at 2331 Troy Schenectady Road, Niskiuna, New York, located in the R1 Low Density Residential Zoning District, to install a freestanding monument sign which exceeds the square footage allowed, exceeds the distance from the ground, and is internally lit. Section 220-22A10A2 states, a sign for non-residential use shall not exceed 20 square feet in area or 8 feet in height above the average finished grade in its location. As proposed, the sign measures 22.4 square feet in area. Therefore, a 4.4 square foot variance for sign area is required. Section 220-4 definitions include the following: sign ground, a freestanding sign, sign ground, a freestanding sign whose entire bottom is in contact with or in close proximity within 2 feet of the ground. As proposed, the bottom of the sign is 42 inches from the ground. Therefore, an 18-inch variance for proximity to the ground is required. Section 220-22A10A6 states, sign shall not be internally lit. External lighting shall be placed in a manner that minimizes glare to adjacent properties and streets. As proposed, the sign is internally lit. Therefore, a variance for internally lit sign is required. 16 notices were mailed, 0 responses. We've received a county referral and a planning board.
The county is in a state of flux a little bit, so they sent me their intent to do the referral, and their intent on this one was to defer to local jurisdiction. The planning board on May 19th, 2025 reviewed the sign and made the following recommendations to the zoning board. Effect on the comprehensive plan. The planning board voted 7-0 that the proposed variances would have no effect on the comprehensive plan. They noted page 88 to 90 of the land use section of the 2013 comprehensive development plan, stating the Troy Road corridor is significantly residential in nature and the town should take steps to assure that trend extends into the future. Suitability of use. The board voted 5-2 that the proposed variances were suitable as proposed. They noted the variances would have no negative impact on the neighboring properties and would assist travelers with wayfinding on a very busy street where vehicles travel at a high rate of speed. Board members also acknowledged that occupants of many current vehicles ride higher off the ground than occupants did years ago. They supported the improved driver's sight line created by the slightly larger sign that sits higher off the ground. It was also noted that snowbanks in the winter often become quite high along Route 7, and the extra height on the bottom of the sign to grade will help sightlines. The 2 members who voted the proposed variance were not suitable indicated they felt the code-compliant version of the sign was adequate. Recommendation. The board voted 5-2 to recommend the ZBA approve all of the variances. The 2 board members who voted not to recommend approval of the variances repeated their assertion that the code-compliant version of the sign was adequate.
Good evening, sir. You state your name and address for the record?
Yep, Tom Wheeler with AJ Sign Company, 842 Saratoga Road, Burn Hills, New York. So basically, we're looking to install this sign. This sign is actually the same size as the sign that was there in the past.
Mr. Wheeler, let me just stop you. The sign, and I think the seminal issue is that that sign is significantly larger than the sign that's currently there, correct? The Berkshire Hathaway sign. I don't know if it's still there, but
Square footage is actually the same and the height's about the same.
well, if we take out the base and we ignore the base, the signage portion of it appears to be significantly larger.
Right, if you take that and rotate it, it's about the same square footage as what's there. If you measure the square footage of the 2, they're about the same.
Well, why does the Berkshire Hathaway, when I looked at it, it appeared to be much smaller?
I'm not sure.
Just
Different orientation, different sign. This sign has a lot of mass on top.
Okay.
Just the way it's designed.
Well, how many square? Do you know how many? What the increase in the size is? How many square inches larger or square feet larger it is? It's the same square feet, is what you're saying.
Yeah, yes,
It's
very similar,
The
I'm
confusion might be
saying.
that the sign is, I believe, higher from grade, correct, Laura?
Yeah, so the old sign was like a rectangle with long sides sticking up and it measured almost from the base all the way to the top. So the square footage was about equal, but you measured the square footage from the top almost to the exact bottom of the sign. This square footage is only measured for the top square, like the black part doesn't count as the square footage, whereas like the old sign, it did count as the square footage.
So I'm not off in assuming that.
No, it does look different. It's a totally different orientation.
But if I understood you correctly, the base was included in the square footage of the sign in the original sign, and this one, the base is excluded from the square footage. Is that correct?
Correct, because of the way the letters were on the old sign
Okay.
versus this one, it's actually just pushing the sign up and it's like a horizontal sign.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, I mean, that's,
So I just for clarification, just for yes or no, is this sign bigger or not?
It's not very much bigger than the old sign.
Okay. All right, sir.
so basically, there's a couple variances we're asking for. The first one, the sign is internally illuminated. The way that's done though, that's an aluminum face, the gray. The letters are cut into the aluminum and then pushed through an acrylic. The black on the front of that letter is opaque. So the only light that comes out is around the edge of the acrylic. So it casts a lot less light than if this were externally illuminated with floodlights, which we find is less distracting to drivers because a floodlight could get hit by the mower or whatnot and aim at the road. And it also tends to cast a lot of light, whereas this is a very soft glow just around the outside of the letter. So typically much softer than external illumination. We did try to render this multiple times. The planning board saw with the size that's allowed. The problem is the Heritage Group doesn't really say what it is. So insurance, risk management, and benefits is very important. We want that to be readable. We want motorists to see what it is. So in order to get that just right, so it's readable from cars going by, we needed to get this extra 4 square feet. It's a busy road. People, speed limit's 45, people are going 55. So we want people to have time to see this from a distance, put their directional on and safely turn in. The smaller the sign, the more time your eyes are off the road and looking at the sign. So we want to have something that's readable and effective, that people can see it and safely make their turn. The height above grade, the reason we're asking for that, 2 feet's not enough for the snow that we could have here. The bottom of the sign would be buried. And it also gives us a little room for some plantings. So this gives us enough height that it can snow and they can plow the 2 lanes of snow in front of that sign and you'll still be able to see the sign. Really no other way to accomplish this than to have this sign a little larger. That's why we're asking for these variances. But no environmental impacts, no change to the neighborhood. So we spent a lot of time and did the best we could to come up with the smallest amount of variance possible.
Thank you. You have the Berkshire Hathaway sign, or you keep
Yeah, this
keep
is for-
teasing us with it? But
Yeah, sorry, no, well, I didn't want to interrupt. See, this sign, because of the way this had words on it, the sign is measured for the entirety of the purple on top and the gray on the bottom. But you basically take this whole sign and then you flip it.
right,
Like
but you have
flip it up.
you have a
But it is
substantially larger
basically the
base.
same square footage, but
Yeah.
it's because this whole thing counted. Whereas on this one, oops, where'd it go? On this one, it's only this gray part that counts. So it's sort of like taking the old one and flipping it sideways and lifting it up.
And then putting a significantly larger base. Okay, are there other questions from the board?
Just a couple of questions about the lighting. I know you've been in front of us before, I think, for Walton Road or something.
For GE.
GE.
For Nova,
GE,
yep.
yes. So I remember that. So, and I know the lights sometime at night, they get, because the office closed, is the lights go off or do they stay on 24/7? How does that work? I know you had similar situations before.
Depends how it's controlled, you know, typically we'll put a photo cell on these, so it'll, when it gets dark, it'll turn on, when it gets light, it'll turn off. It's LED. LED is a very short throw. It's not like a flashlight that's gonna send light far. LEDs have a short throw, so it's really, this doesn't cast light much at all, because the light's getting stopped by that opaque face. It just gets a little glow around the edge of the letter.
Right, but
So-
do they stay on like 24/7, those,
Just when it's dark out.
when
So,
it gets dark, they just come on?
yeah, they come on when it gets dark and they turn off.
Because
when
I'm
it gets light.
assuming their office closed after 5 anyway.
I'm not exactly sure what their
You know what
hours
I
could
mean?
be.
I mean, I'm just not seeing where they need the light at night. Or why it can't be at 10 o'clock turned off. I mean,
And we could put it on a timer and come up, you know, I could,
because we have done that where we put a limit on
Sure.
what time to turn it off and.
yep,
I
no,
think-
I've definitely done that. You know, maybe put a midnight or an 11 o'clock on it, that
Okay,
shuts off.
so you'll be willing to do that. All right, thank you.
Are
I
there
got
any
a
other-
question for you. I'm concerned about the light with the homeowners. The building shuts down at 5 o'clock, am I correct?
Probably not with insurance.
All
and
right, what time would
benefits,
it shut
people are
down?
Gonna have night appointments, you know, people work, so they might have to go here during the evening hours.
Say, not after 9 o'clock, though.
I can't be sure. I have to ask my client. You know, typically when we do restrictions, we'll do 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock at night, shut it off, then turn it back on at like 5 in the morning. Or it doesn't need to turn back.
Mr. Wheeler, I think Mr. Wheeler's already indicated that his client would be agreeable to turn it off at a certain hour of the evening, so it's not on overnight.
And what time would that be?
Let's say midnight. You know, after midnight, there's really not much traffic on the road anyway.
It's a little late.
What's that?
That's a little late.
What's it hurt? You know, it's good. It's a lot less light than a street light. It's a lot less light than a headlight. It's really not gonna put much light out at all. It makes it so that the letters have a soft glow around the edge and it's readable. Now, if we did floodlights, that's a tunnel light. And that's what's allowed by code. So this is much softer than what's allowed by code.
Yeah, we had stores, they shut off at 9 o'clock on, Route 5. Because there's houses, there was this, there was that. Lights went off at 9 o'clock when they shut down. When they closed the store, the lights went off. And it wasn't at 12 o'clock.
That's retail. That's a little different. They want people not to show up when they're closed. You know, we also want some advertising out of this sign. So if there is traffic on the road, we would like people to see the Heritage Group. You know, signs dual purpose, of course. It's a marketing tool and it's also directional aid.
We do have residential people down here, residential people, am I correct?
And
Am I right?
that's why we're choosing this form of lighting, because it's
Okay.
so dim.
Mr.
Go ahead.
Mr. Daly, or Mr. Wheeler, so just for clarification purposes, you indicated that the code allows floodlights at this location, correct? External lighting is allowed of the sign.
Correct, right? Yep.
Okay. And I think you were indicating that that would be more intrusive from your perspective, correct?
Definitely.
Okay, explain why.
Because the floodlight's gonna be, 5 feet off the sign and shine up at it. Some of the light's gonna go past the sign. It's gonna be bright and it's just a big ball of light.
Okay.
Whereas this, the light's inside the sign. That black is opaque. So nothing goes through that black. The acrylic is 3/4 of an inch. The aluminum's an eighth. So you've got about a half inch of acrylic sticking through the face. The only light is coming out the outside edge of that half inch of acrylic.
Okay.
So it's very minimal.
So how would it be different than like the lights illuminating one of the shopping centers, one of the big monument signs illuminating the shopping center?
Typically there, like a big monument sign is gonna have a polycarbonate face where the whole face lights up.
Okay,
That's a tunnel light. Like Target, their channel letters on a Target, light comes out the face. The face is red acrylic, so the whole face lights up. Whereas we're taking the face and we're making it opaque, so it's just the edge.
okay. And you further indicated that at some point you're willing to turn off the light and put it on a timer, so it's not on 24 hours.
Sure, yeah, we can do a timer and shut it off at
Okay,
midnight or.
all right. Are there other questions from other members of the board?
Just a question for Laura. Now it makes sense where this property is. Is that a non-conforming by any chance? Because I know it's next to the gas station, the mobile.
Oh,
Is
it got
that the
it.
one next to the mobile station?
It's right across from
Yeah.
2339
Yeah.
Troy. Yeah. It got a use variance when it changed from a gas station to a professional offices. Well, actually, it may not even be a use variance. I could double check for you, but at one point in the R zonings, offices were allowed on minimal basis. So it may have been a special use permit or a use variance, but when it converted from a gas station to an office building,
It was that.
it was after. Yes, it was. Yeah. Right. It's not a pre-existing non-conforming. It either had a special use permit or use variance.
I've got two questions. One question is whether or not your organization or your company has done any studies regarding the entry from Onondaga Road, taking a left onto Troy Schenectady, and visibility regarding the size of the sign. Have you taken a look at that?
I know the sign's far enough back that a car is gonna be ahead of it making a turn. It's not gonna obstruct your view. Like,
So if you're coming off Onondaga towards Route 7 and you're taking a left, is there enough visibility, given the size of this sign, on your right-hand side to see oncoming traffic?
mean, I'm not 100% familiar with the area, but we meet the setbacks. You know, we're far enough back that your car making a turn will be ahead of the sign. You'll be looking in ahead of it. You won't be looking into it.
Okay, so you're meeting
No.
the setbacks.
Yep.
And then my second question is, what would be the unique quality that would allow for the variance? What about this property is unique as compared to other businesses that need to comply with the size requirements? What's unique about that?
I mean, the biggest thing is that we're on Route 7. It's a 4-lane road where everybody's flying. So we want to get the visibility so people can see the sign to make that turn safely. Like I said, we did render this in smaller sizes and it just, the letters were so small, it wasn't going to be readable. So just the nature of the road and the speed is the biggest thing that we're looking for. And then in the winter, obviously the snow.
All right, thank you.
Are there any other questions for members of the board?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Just when it comes to the size variance, is there a particular reason why the extra 4 square feet is necessary, provide significant benefit beyond a 20 square foot sign?
It gets those bottom letters big enough, that we can manufacture them. We got to have that letter big enough that we can run the bit on our CNC machine in there to cut those letters out, to have them illuminated this way. We didn't want to, I don't want to ask for a polycarbonate face where the whole thing lights up. I don't think that's appropriate in this district. So in order to have this soft lighting, we need to be able to cut those letters. So that's the biggest thing, is we got to be able to make this. And then again, when we went smaller by those 4 square feet, they were just so small you wouldn't be able to read them either. They get kind of crunched up.
And I just want to make sure from an appearance perspective, that everything that's white on that sign, on the actual sign, will be aluminum in color, or will it be white in color?
It's not white. It's silver metallic, I think. Let me
Like-
see.
Okay,
No, it's cool gray. So it's a light gray color.
okay.
Yeah, so it's not raw aluminum.
That's it, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, I'll continue the questions about the sign design itself. There's a lot of blank area around the edges there. Did the client consider perhaps changing the size of the words that are on the top so that the words that you are concerned about, that say insurance, risk management, and benefits, could be larger at the bottom? You know, risk management and then insurance benefits, and use more of the face of the sign than what is being shown to us.
I mean, this is their logo lockup. There is a little free space around the sign. I mean, design 101, you don't want to have everything go to the edge. It's just that it just doesn't look good. You know, there is an aesthetic that we're going for here as well. There's also going to be a frame inside that you can't see, a welded subframe that's around the edge of that sign, so you can't get too close because then you can't push letters through, is another reason. But the biggest thing, that's their logo lockup. We want to maintain their logo.
Okay, so what we can't see, like you're saying, is the interior frame of it. So when it's lit, that will cast a shadow,
Not at all.
or
Nope.
you won't see the frame at all?
No.
Might I suggest that if you attend the, I feel like I want to see a picture of what it might look like. Even an example of a different one that has the same type of lighting, because I'm not fully understanding, I think.
Yes.
I mean,
What don't you understand? I can help you.
I just want to have a sense of the general appearance of the sign. Listen, my concern is, I do not want, I grew up in Rockland County, and I saw Route 59 go from a beautiful road that looks a lot like Route 7 to an absolute disaster. And I don't want to see Route 7 starting to look like Central Avenue. And so my concern is aesthetic.
Yep. I mean, See if I have anything here. Were you here for the GE Vernova?
I
meeting?
was.
Do you remember the night? I don't have a night view of this. Do you remember the night views of that? How
Yes.
It was just the glow around the
Okay.
letters.
Then that does answer my
That's what
question.
It's a different way of doing the same thing. where it's
Thank you very
like,
much. All right,
it's
that's all I needed. Thank you.
For the classiest way to make a monument. There you go. That's it. Yep.
So, Laura, can we go back to the rendering of the heritage sign again? I guess as, the questions have evolved a little bit. I'm curious about whether or not you can still maintain the size of lettering of the logo itself. However, the negative space around the sign, and I'm calling negative space, meaning that what's indicated as like a gray portion, can just be reduced. Why does it have to be? Why does it have to be 80 inches? Why can't it be 75 inches and still maintain the size of the lettering?
We tried that and it just didn't work. Remember, I said there's a frame inside that sign that you can't see. That's a welded aluminum subframe that holds everything together. So that prohibits us from going too close to the edge. Aesthetically, if you take a sign, if you look around, most signs, the words don't go right to the edge. It just looks terrible. You need to have room for that acrylic. The acrylic has a flange on the back. That acrylic flange needs to have something solid around it as well to adhere to from the backside. So there's a lot going on inside the sign as well, that you need some space to have power supplies, aluminum bars to hold the lights, the aluminum subframe, the flange on the acrylic.
So there's no possible way to make this 75 inches on this upper part.
We tried it, just it didn't look good because the letters are going to come in proportionally with that.
What happens if you made those letters smaller? Like, not as small as the ones on the bottom, but if you made smaller and Groupie made smaller, then you would have the room. If you cut it down to 75.
Like I said, we tried this with the planning board and it didn't work. We had 2 meetings with them and we did render this smaller and the bottom line wasn't readable. Another issue, the stroke of the letter. So the width of the letter itself gets too tight and that you can't cut it. You can't push it through. So you can't make the sign this way.
Wait a minute. If you make those letters smaller, you've got 80 inches there. You cut it down to 75 inches, okay? And you make those letters smaller. I don't see where you're losing on that edge. I don't see it.
Mr. Daly, let me just ask you a question. Laura, do you have any of the renderings that were provided to the planning board that are smaller? Because that might help clarify things. So I guess the question is going to be, what's wrong with that sign?
If you look at it on the left, you can't read it.
Can't read what?
The letters. It's too small. It got to the point where you can't read it. It's going to be tough to cut and it's only 2 feet off the ground. So it's going to be buried in the snow. When they plow Route 7, it goes on the sidewalk. Then they come through and plow the sidewalks. You're going to end up with a mountain of snow there.
You could,
That's you're saying in regards to height.
Yep. And the size of the sign.
The height.
Yep.
Keep the sign 70.
Yeah. It's not readable. At 55 miles an hour, you're not gonna be able to read those.
55.
55.
It's 45, but how fast are people going?
About 40.
Yeah.
People are going 40?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll call it 45.
The only reason I say that is you got the sheriff's department on 7, you got Colony on 7, Niskiuna, and et cetera, et cetera.
Why don't we stay on topic here because we're deviating onto the speed limit on Route 7.
What's the height again to that square? The printers, what's the height? Well, I understand, I live on Route 7, I agree with you on all this stuff about the plow. I understand the lighting is gonna be perfect, we already discussed these and this here from the bottom up, I'm concerned because Mr. Antonowski brought a valid point when people pulling out. That's the hardest thing on Route 7 is pulling out and people, yes, they supposed to go for it and I agree with you. Concern as I have for the people who works at the insurance company and or applying when they pull out, because that's the hardest thing is to be able to look to the left and the car's coming to pull up in the middle to cross the road or take a right. So is that rectangle is gonna block the person when they sitting in the car and trying to look through the window? That's the concern. I think Mr. Antonowski brought this up. And that's why I want to ask this question because I don't want the owner or the customer getting any accident on Route 7 pulling out. So can you describe to me the heights exactly what they are and compare it to a car or to a truck?
No, I agree with you. We don't want that either. That's why we meet the setbacks and we're back far enough that you should be able to stop,
So how
look and pull
far
forward.
Route 7? Like if you look at the sidewalk there, how far are we from the Route 7?
It's 15 feet off the property
15
line.
feet? Okay, so we do have that to the beginning.
Yeah, that's to the leading edge of the
Okay.
part that's in the air.
That's basically. So they can be pulling up and looking a couple times before they, because if they were standing before the sidewalk, that side's gonna be blocked. If front of the car, their car, it's still bad, so they have to pull up a couple of times.
Right.
To make sure they clear it.
Yeah.
There's any way that sign can be even pushed back, because I'm telling you, those plows, even the one they do the sidewalk, they will damage that sign.
I think I'm not positive, but I believe the property line's the inside edge of the sidewalk. Laura, do you know that?
Yeah, on Route 7, it's a foot or two inside the sidewalk, but not a lot.
So
Yeah.
if we're 15 feet back from the inside edge of the sidewalk,
Oh,
then you have the
okay.
sidewalk, then you got that little grass, then you got the curb. So we're probably 20 feet off the road.
Even
Mm-hmm.
that point. So that's why I want to make sure when that point was brought up, that this sign does not block for somebody to.
Yeah, we're not asking for a setback variance. Right, I mean, it's another reason we need the size. We're not asking for setback. We're trying to make this safe and make sure people can see to get out.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I just have a few final questions, hopefully, for the applicant. The application includes a site plan, a map, a survey map. Would you concur that it's not exactly accurate to what's currently on the site? I know that in the pictures we can see grass, et cetera, and someone has approximately located the sign in there. So this map is old, is that not currently reflecting, other than perhaps the building location?
That's correct. This is an old map.
Okay. All right, so that was one question, and the other question was in respect to the timing of the light going on and off. If the applicant is amenable to having a time clock to turn the light on and off at certain times of the day, I think if we can get consensus that either a 9 PM or a 10 PM turning off time is reasonable based on the neighborhood that we're aware of, would the applicant be amenable to that?
I mean, can we do 11? In the summer, it's still light out at 9.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you don't have to do anything. It's up to you too. I mean, we can approve and establish a condition, or the applicant can amend its application to establish a time. If you don't want to do that and you just want to move forward with it, your application being as is, we'll consider it as is.
Yeah, we're willing to set a time. I think 11 is when I do
You
this
said
all over the
9,
place.
we said 11, and we call it 10 and call it a day here? 10 acceptable?
If that works for you guys, I'll do 10.
Well, I am only one member of the board, but so are you going to amend your application to include a 10 PM cutoff of the sign?
We can do that. Yep.
Okay. All right, so do we have to do anything on he's amending his application to include a 10 PM cutoff on the sign as it was proposed originally in the dimensions that were proposed? Okay. Are there any members of the public that wish to be heard for or against this application? Good evening. Why don't you state your name and address for the record, please?
Good evening. I'm Marina Piro, 1017 Onondaga Road. My concern is about maintaining the quality and integrity of the surrounding R1 residential neighborhood. While Route 7 accommodates a few businesses, the nearby streets in Route 7 itself is home to families who expect their residential environment to be protected from commercial spillover. Any increase in commercial signage, particularly with lighting, risks disrupting the peaceful character of the neighborhood with light pollution, visual clutter, and a general shift away from the intended residential feel. Also, while the business has done a seemingly nice job renovating the building, there has already been a lot of lighting added to the outside of the building. I ask the board to keep in mind the importance of maintaining residential life in this part of Niskayuna. Thank you.
State your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Kyle Piro, 1017 Onondaga Road. My primary concern is protecting the residential environment that surrounds this section of Route 7. While the road serves a few commercial entities, the neighboring streets and Route 7 itself are quiet, family-oriented zoned R1. Allowing additional or expanded signage, especially with lighting, risks introducing visual disturbances that do not belong in a residential setting. It is important that the board consider the lasting effects on nearby homeowners and the overall sense of community that we enjoy in this neighborhood. Preserving the residential character of these neighborhoods should be the priority in any zoning decision. While I welcome the addition of turning this light sign off at 10 PM, this is a residential area and our home abuts the property 2 houses down. Anything later than closing would be unacceptable to us.
Good evening. Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Karen Berry. I reside at 2336 Cayuga Road. From the various meetings I have attended, there seems to be a consistent theme based on the residential surveys that green space and preserving the residential character is the utmost importance to Niskayuna residents. The business at 2331 Troy Schenectady Road is doing nice improvements, I think, to the existing footprint. And I'm not opposed to the upgrades that are being allowed within the comprehensive plan. I do, however, oppose the issue with the signage. The sign should be no longer than what is allowed in the comprehensive plan. And I would ask that the lighting perhaps be considered be from the top down from lighting fixtures that overhang above the sign. But I would have to see photos. That doesn't really tell me what that looks like either. So that was a good point you guys brought up. I also have grave concerns about additional lighting for several reasons. Since obtrusive lighting from business, one, affects the aesthetic appeal of the town, two, has broader implications for residents' well-being and the environment, and three, that lighting pollution diminishes the visibility of stars at night and deprives residents of the natural beauty. Since I have personally experienced the negative impacts of lighting in our residential neighborhood, I would like to share just one of many stories. During the pandemic, I purchased an outdoor movie theater for my teenage children so they could still socialize with their friends. We would start the movie at dusk. They would sit 6 feet apart. I have continued this tradition with several of my friends and people in the neighborhood to continue that socialization. Unfortunately, the unnatural light from the business from 2339 Schenectady has made it difficult to see the movie screen. We've had to purchase 11 8-foot green giant arborvitae at a cost of $9,417.47 to defray some of the artificial light coming from the business. We had to purchase mature arborvitae since the business sits at a higher elevation, so we weren't afforded the luxury to allow the arborvitae a few years to grow. Although I want to see the new business be prosperous, I don't want the lighting to have a compounding effect to the area that's already intense and intrusive lighting on the night sky. And I ask that you consider implementing light restrictions. I don't know about you, but I don't go to bed at 11. I go to bed at approximately 9. And enforce those policies that dictate the duration and the intensity of the business lighting, and also requiring that the lighting be cast downward from the mounting fixtures I previously talked about, and not casted outward or upwards. But I'd be open to see the lighting if it was in dark at night, so I could see what exactly, and I
Ms.
can't
Berry,
for this.
I understand that one of your main concerns, I understand the concerns of the Piros one of the main concerns has to deal with the lighting associated with this sign. I just want to be clear that the code, they wouldn't need any kind of variance to cast floodlights onto that sign.
Okay.
So my understanding of what the application is the LED lights would just light up on the sign, the letters themselves. So I think what the applicant has indicated when he was testifying was that the floodlights themselves, that they're authorized by code, which would be much more intrusive. So Laura, can you just put up one more time the GE Vernova sign? Just to give you an idea of what we're talking about here, because GE had a very similar sign, not equating this with the GE property in any way. I'm just trying to show you what the signage looked like that was proposed. And it's my understanding from talking, the applicant indicated that it would be identical. You see that down in the right-hand corner? That's what, so the letters would be lit like that, and my understanding is that the light wouldn't cast beyond that.
Okay, that's good to hear. And again, just the additional lighting that was addressed, that was put on the building is very, very intrusive as well.
Again, and I'm not making any representations, that I'm sure that's a very legitimate concern. That's just not before the board this evening, so we can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm sure if it is in violation of the code, that is something that the town can do something about.
I appreciate it.
Okay, thanks
Yes,
for coming.
thank you.
Thanks for coming. Is there anyone else that wishes to be heard for or against this application? Sir, can you just state your name and address for the record?
I'm Tyler Turpinning, 371 Bly Road, and I'm the president of the Heritage Group.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for having me here, guys, tonight. So the reason why I chose the sign the way that I did was because I actually grew up on Mohegan Road, rode my bike past there hundreds of times to Harry's Mobile Station. I specifically selected that so it wasn't intrusive. It was just behind the letters, right? I wanted to keep the residential feel of the building. That's why we didn't do any exterior renovations other than landscaping, to keep it conforming to what we want it to be, right? A residential style type of office building.
Are you aware that the neighbors had concerns about exterior lighting, not necessarily the sign, but other
No, I
lights
had
on the
no, I had
property?
no idea about that. But the reason why we did do that was because we wanted to put parking lot lights in but because of the light study being on Route 7, it wasn't allowed. So we just did uplighting, landscaping lighting for security. We have a lot of privacy, high-end documents in there, and the security was my utmost concern. So that's why we did uplighting, landscape lighting, and replace the existing lights on the building with just new.
All right, well, it's not before the board this evening, but I'd encourage you, I know there's some neighbors that are here you've heard from some neighbors that are here this evening. It might be, make sense to talk to them to see if you can reach any kind of mutual accommodation with respect to that lighting, but not before the board this evening. Okay, thank you. Do you have anything else about the sign, sir?
No, I would appreciate the size of the sign just from the height from the ground, and also just let everybody know that 2331 is not illuminated. It is strictly just the Heritage Group section, and it's just the reverse part of it, and it's very, very minor. If you drive through British American, I would say the majority of these buildings have that exact sign. So at night, it's very, very low intensity lighting.
And just for clarification, I wasn't aware of that. The insurance risk management and benefits are not illuminated at night. Is that what you're saying?
No, those are
Oh.
just the 2331 number.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
understand.
just the number of the property. Yeah. Without a doubt, yeah, I've been to the property many times. To address your concern, when you actually come to pull out of the parking lot, that sign is at least 15 feet back, so you can pull even up to the sidewalk to look all the way down Route 7. Because that was my concern for my staff and Onondaga pulling in, and it's completely full. Yeah. And also to address somebody's concern about timing. So our office is closed at 5. Sometimes have late night meetings with clients, 8, 9 o'clock at night, depending on their business schedule. So we're a commercial insurance agency. That's what we do a lot of. So business people come to our office, and that's why having illuminated later would be the best thing for us. But I agree with the timing thing. If it needs to turn off right now, the exterior lights, it's all on the same timer within the building. So everything turns on at the same time, including the road sign, because that was there initially, and it's run under the parking lot into the property.
And what time does it currently turn off all the lighting?
The landscape lighting stays on with the exterior lights till the morning. I want to say maybe 6 a.m. I don't know the exact time, but it's early in the morning.
So you wouldn't object for the lights going off at 9?
9 would be a little early for me. I mean, it is, that's why I bought the property, was just for the road presence alone. So later would be better personally. I mean, it's right on Route 7. So 9 o'clock is a little early for me. I'm not opposed to turning it off early, but 9 o'clock is a little early.
Well, if you turn it off at 10 o'clock, as you're indicating, would that indicate that all the lights would go off at 10 o'clock?
I would have to have the electrician redo it all.
Including the uplighting that you described?
Correct.
You do that, even though it's not before the board, just as a consideration?
It's
Okay.
all in the same panel switch.
Okay, so it'll all go off at whatever time that was. So if we said 10 o'clock, all the uplighting that's currently 24/7 would go off at 10
Yes.
o'clock too. Okay, well, I think that would
That's a
alleviate
concern.
some of the concerns of your neighbors.
Yeah.
To a certain extent. Anything else, sir?
No, that's it.
Any other questions to the board?
Yeah, I had a quick question, Mr. Chair. How is it lit today with the existing Prudential sign?
So I can't.
I'm
answer
sorry,
that. Took it
whatever,
from
Berkshire Hathaway, whatever.
I don't know because it's been down for about 2 years.
Okay.
I took it down when I bought it, so I can't really tell you. But I couldn't even speculate to what it was or how it was lit.
Would you say compared to when you purchased the property,
Mhm.
is there a net increase or decrease in light pollution in the neighborhood?
From the sign,
From the property?
I wouldn't call it pollution. It would be a net increase because I added landscape lighting. If that's pollution,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, that's it.
From a safety perspective, though, because there's no parking lot lights.
Understood.
So.
Okay, I think we got enough. Thank you, sir, for coming. Sir, you can state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, hi, Jeremy Berry, 2336 Cayuga Road. I'm here tonight to support the local business and to commend the work that's being done to upgrade the interior of the building as well as the exterior landscaping. As Chairman Hoke suggested earlier, for the sake of consistency and uniformity, You know, we've been in front of the board, planning board, as well as the zoning board in the past, over concerned about Route 7. So nothing against the business. You know, we want to support local business, but again, the protection of Route 7 is very important and the preservation of the neighborhood. You know, I think for us, for at least for me, as this is residentially zoned R1, you know, maintaining the code, which is what we all have worked for, the town worked for many, many years, is very, very important. We're very concerned about commercial creep. Little by little, things start changing. You know, Eric, as you mentioned earlier, you know, I'm from Dutchess County, downstate, and, you know, Route 9 down there is very similar to what you're referring to. We've all seen that in Colony. We've seen it in really what Wolf Road, as well as you know, Route 146 and Route 9 in Clifton Park looked like 20 years ago. So this is definitely something that we're always concerned about. We don't want to poo-poo on you know, his vision, but on the flip side, it's what's the next thing that's going to happen. I will tell you, I understand, you know, being insurance, risk management, and benefits. I'm a financial planner. I'm a wealth management advisor. I very much understand the risk that he's referring to in terms of confidentiality and protecting your data. But I don't think lights is going to change that. I think I would assume he has a security system. And so I think for the protection of the neighborhood, when we're looking at 2339 as well as 2311, that essentially is going to, it's right now, it looks like a beacon on the hill with all the lights and the landscaping. I generally don't have a problem with the backlighting, but on the flip side, I didn't make the town code. You guys had decided that there was no backlighting on Route 7. So that's just something that I think you guys should consider before making your decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public that wish to be heard? Okay, come on up. Just state your name and address for the record.
I 121 on Onondaga Road, and I'm actually behind the Heritage Group. And I couldn't say it better than what Jeremy just said. It was exactly what I was going to say. My house is lit up. You can read in the bedrooms. So I am opposed to anything that is a change to the existing zoning. If we want to change the zoning laws, I suggest that the town do that, just because of the scope creep of the establishments on Route 7 around me.
Ms. Keefe, I just have a question for you, and I appreciate the situation. With respect to the lighting in your bedroom or your house that's lit up, presumably I assume that you're referencing the lighting at the location where the Heritage Group is.
Well, both, and I will speak to the gentleman.
Okay, well, both in terms of the Heritage Group as well as the gas station you're referencing. And who and where are the lights coming from? Is it more from the gas station or more from the Heritage Group? Okay. And do you understand that I'm sure you heard that the owner of the Heritage Group was willing to put a limitation on how long the lights had on his property, and that would maybe benefit you by turning off the lights that would potentially impact your property.
Yes, if we could do something with the back door.
Okay, well, we can't do. That's not really before the board, but the owner from the Heritage Group is here, and I'm sure if you have concerns with you, he's the guy to talk to. Okay.
Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks, Ms. Keefe. Are there any other members of the public that wish to be heard for or against this application? Okay. Having heard no other members of the public, is there anybody that wishes to make a motion either for or against this application?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, Mr. Dolman.
I would like to make a motion to approve the variances as submitted. I do find that the speed of the drivers in this area is very high, and the additional square footage does benefit the safety of the whole, not just the drivers, but the neighborhood in general. And the additional height to avoid being blocked by snow, by huge snowbanks is, I think, reasonable. as far as an undesirable change in the neighborhood, I think that this particular design does minimize the impact on the residential feel of the neighborhood, especially considering that the alternative is that it'll be lit up by floodlights from the bottom, which requires which doesn't require any action from the board. However, this is greatly mitigated by the number and intensity of the feedback from the public. I would like to recommend that the Comprehensive Planning Committee not only look at sign lighting restrictions in light of modern technology, but at concerns about light pollution in residential areas in general. This is absolutely a substantial request. And as far as environmental impact, again, light pollution concern is real, particularly in neighborhoods where residential buildings are in close proximity to commercial operations. But as far as this particular sign, the alternatives are huge floodlights lighting it up, or what I now know is a relatively subtle design of the lettering. And yes, this is self-created. On the balance, I would like to move to approve the variance as requested, all three variances as requested.
And just for clarification purposes, the applicant noted that they amended their application to turn off the lights. And just so we're all clear, what time was that? Because I know there were times going back and forth. What was the final time that was agreed to? 10 p.m.
All right, then I'll amend my motion to include that light restriction at 10 p.m.
Okay. A motion's been made. Well, I don't think you have to include it because the applicant already amended their application.
Oh, okay.
So as presented, we have a motion. Is there a second to that motion?
Mr. Chair, I will second that motion. I definitely heard the residents and their concerns about lights. However, it seems from the discussion that the lights they're concerned with are not going to be related to the sign. And as we've seen with the GE lighting that was before this board before, it actually adds very little ambient light that will cascade or pollute out the rest of the area. So for that reason, I will second the motion.
A motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Having heard none, Ms. Shakedi, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Latif?
I'm gonna vote yes, and I'm gonna add to the public people that owners seem to be willing to work with you guys and to make sure these lights fit the neighborhood and et cetera. So I'm voting yes on that.
Mr. Dolman?
Yes, for the reasons stated.
Ms. Pacheco?
I'm going to vote no for several reasons. First, I believe the size of the sign could be smaller and meet the criteria of the zoning ordinances and still communicate the intent and the language that the applicant desires. So for me, the size is a significant impact, as well as its height above ground. I'm sure that there are other businesses within Niskuna, not necessarily on Route 7, that take care of their signs and make sure that they are clear of snow. So I applaud all the residents who have come forward and shared their views this evening, and I'm glad that the applicant for the business is here as well and hears their concerns. I'm not so worried about the lighting, which has been, I think, much more explained with the examples that were shared. So while that is nice, I'm going to vote no on it.
Mr. Daly?
I'm going to vote no. And the reason why, I think that sign can go from 80 inches. I think that sign can go smaller to 70 inches. The lettering can be moved down smaller. When you come up Troy Road, you'll be able to see it. Although there was a motion for the 10 o'clock thing, I'm dead set against 10 o'clock, because most businesses in real estate or whatever aren't open until 10 o'clock. They close at 5:30. So for my reasons, I'm voting no.
Mr. Stein?
I'm going to vote yes for the reasons I previously stated, and also note that I do understand some of the insurance business has some lingo that is not common knowledge to everyone. And I do understand the extra subtext on the sign and the required sizes because of that.
Mr. Antonikowski?
This is difficult, but I think as a whole, I'm going to vote no on the motion overall. My concerns aren't necessarily with the illumination. I think that the illumination is, I guess, probably the most least intrusive manner that could possibly be done. There's also some, concessions by the business, which I absolutely appreciate. The height of the sign is also not necessarily a concern, but the size of the overall sign. I do think that this can be achieved in another way, and the same effect be had with a smaller sign. So for that reason, and I struggle to find a uniqueness on why it needs to be that particular size. So for that reason, I'm gonna vote no on the motion.
Chairperson Hoke?
All right, so this is a real tough one. We've spent a lot of time on this particular application. I understand what the community has said relative to the sign, and more importantly, the community's concerns with respect to creep in the area, impacting the residential nature of the community. I too am concerned about that. I know we have a member of the board that, resides on Route 7. It's something that this board takes very seriously. That being said, we do have a property that is unique in the district. It's unique in an R1 district in that it is a pre-existing use, or they were granted a use variance, and they are allowed to have a commercial enterprise at the location. With respect to the sign in particular, I think that the applicant has articulated the basis for why they need the size of the sign. I think that they have a logo. I think that they've invested a lot into this property, and they've invested in this property to allow their clients to come there and be aware of, where they're at, and to display their logo in the fashion that they want to display it. The size of the sign, while larger than the code, isn't dramatically larger. I was taken by the sign originally, but again, the sign that's existed there is a similar square footage, just a little bit lower. So the pedestals are actually a little higher, and the sign's oriented a little bit differently. I think that there were some concerns that were discussed relative to sight lines that were addressed by the applicant. So I don't believe necessarily that the benefit can be achieved by the applicant by just reducing the signage. The manufacturer of the sign also expressed issues with respect to the ability to manufacture the sign, and we did see images and renderings of the sign smaller that did make it very difficult to read the entire sign, which would obviously obviate the need for the sign or what the applicant was trying to achieve in the first instance. With respect to whether this variance will produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood, this has to be separated from the fact that, yes, any kind of commercial enterprise in an R1 district is going to have a detrimental impact on the community, and I recognize that. However, this is a commercial enterprise that's existed there. This isn't something that's being added to the community. And there was already a sign there in the first place for a very similar type of business. So in this situation, I don't know that this sign, which is all that's before this board tonight, and I know that sometimes it's easy to conflate this sign with everything in the area, okay? And I appreciate there are other concerns outside of this sign in the immediate vicinity of this location. But this sign in and of itself, I don't believe is going to present or create an undesirable change in the neighborhood, other than, and that doesn't mean that the community can't have concerns with the commercial enterprise being there in the first place. I get that, but that is not before us, and it is what it is in terms of it's pre-existing there. Is the variance substantial? Absolutely substantial. I think that the applicant, with respect to the lighting, has taken steps to mitigate the variance request, and I appreciate that the applicant has recognized some of the concerns of the community members with respect to other lighting that's not before this board, and affirmed that he would take steps to cut off the hours that those lights are illuminating his property, and hopefully that will help additionally mitigate some of the concerns of the neighbors. I don't believe that this sign will have an adverse physical or environmental effect, although light pollution is a real concern and an issue. But I think the illumination of the light, how the sign is envisioned, will actually reduce the concerns relative to light pollution, and certainly reduce it in comparison to the alternative, which would be floodlights, which would create a much more substantial issue. Whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, in this case, all variance applications are self-created. I don't believe that this one is more self-created than the typical variance request. So balancing all those factors, and again, as you can see from the voting of the board, it's a very close call, but I think it tips ever so slightly in favor of the applicant. And for those reasons, I vote yes on the motion to approve. So on a 4-3 vote, your variance application has been approved, sir. Mr. Kitty, will you call the next matter on the agenda?
Appeal by Leila Kafaga for a variance from section 220-52 of the zoning ordinance of the town of Niskiuna as it applies to the property at 4240 Console Road, Niskiuna, New York, located in the R1 low-density residential zoning district, to convert the Stewart Shop to a small cafe and commercial bakery, sit-down and takeout restaurant, which is not allowed by code in that zoning district. The property was most recently used as a legal pre-existing non-conforming retail service store, Stewart Shops. Section 220-52 A states that no non-conforming use shall be changed to other than a conforming use for the district in which it is situated. As proposed, a small cafe and commercial bakery is classified as a sit-down and takeout restaurant. Sit-down and takeout restaurants are not a permitted principal use or a special principal use in the R1 district. Therefore, a use variance granting approval of a sit-down and takeout use at 4240 Console Road is required. 60 notices were mailed, 2 responses, a county referral, and a planning board referral.
Dear members of the Zoning Board of Appeals, this letter is to formally express my strong opposition to the... Want to take a recess?
No.
Oh, you're gonna close the door? Okay.
Close the door.
Oh, there.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is the CAC. I'll just read it together.
All right, you can continue, Lynn.
Dear members of the Zoning Board of Appeals, this letter is to formally express my strong opposition to the variance application submitted by Ms. Kafaga for 4240 Console Road as identified on the official tax map. My property is directly across from 4240 Console Road, and I am concerned about the potential negative impacts this variance will have on our neighborhood. The lot and all surrounding lots are zoned residential, and a change to commercial zoning should not be considered. We have had many traffic problems with customers leaving the parking lot thinking they have the right of way to pull into traffic. There has been garbage in our lawns, cars left running with music at high volume, headlights shining into my windows, and quite a bit more traffic speeding on Council Road. This has become a much quieter area since Stewart's shops left. Let's keep it residential. We take pride in our properties and would like our house values to not be impacted by a business in our neighborhood. Penny Agostara, 4241 Council Road. This one I'm going to read from my computer because she emailed me a change. Good morning. I am writing to submit an objection to the appeal by Leila Kafaga for a variance from section 220-52 of the zoning ordinance of the town of Niskuna as it applies to the property at 4240 Council Road, Niskuna, New York. We are unable to attend the meeting tonight, but wanted to address our opinion and concerns as this property is across the street from us. Please confirm that this email has been received and that it'll be reviewed before a motion is made to approve or deny the variance. We object to the appeal to a use variance of the 4240 Council Road property, formerly the Stewart Shops. We object this appeal for the following reasons. Traffic issues. Since moving into our house in 2018, we have witnessed many accidents and near accidents at the corner of Ferris and Council Road, where 4240 Council Road is located. It is a congested intersection, and because of how the parking lot is constructed, vehicles typically back out onto Council Road. It is difficult for the vehicles backing out to see oncoming traffic or pedestrians. I will note, when Stewart's was open, pulling out of my driveway, particularly in the morning, was a challenge because of the traffic in and out of that parking lot. With a food establishment potentially moving in, we have concerns about early morning deliveries and starting times, since typically bakeries have to begin their day in the early morning hours. In the past, large delivery trucks have had difficult time backing into the parking lot at 4240 Council Road to make deliveries and have used our driveway to get into where they need to be to unload products on the side of the building. Deliveries at the former Stewart's took place around 5 a.m. Monday through Friday. Unloading products at 5 a.m. was often noisy, and sometimes the trucks were left idle, causing more noise in the early morning. As this is a food establishment, ingredients to make their products will have to be delivered, and we have the same concerns mentioned above if this bakery were to move into this location. We also have concerns regarding parking at this location. In the past, larger vehicles and vehicles with hitches attached to the back have parked on the side of the road in front of our house where a no parking sign is located. The parking lot at 4240 Council Road has 10 parking spots and 1 handicapped parking spot. We have concerns that since the application states there will be seating for 20, parking may become an issue, especially around holidays when bakeries are typically busy. We would not like bakery customers to park in front of our house. Since the closure of Stewart's at 4240 Council Road, traffic has decreased considerably, especially in the morning, and there have been no parking issues. Environmental impact. We also have concerns about the environmental impact a new food establishment may have in this community. Stewart's generated a lot of garbage and waste, and we had a lot of this waste on our property. When Stewart's occupied the 4240 location, we would often see discarded coffee cups, empty bottles, empty cans, used napkins, and used lottery tickets on our front lawn. We would like to point out Stewart's had 2 garbage cans and a dumpster on the property, and the garbage still ended up in our front lawn. Since Stewart's has closed, there is considerably less garbage on our property. We believe the 4240 Council Road property would best serve the community if it's kept residential. Stewart's closed this location because it could not expand due to the residential nature and small space of the area it was located in, according to the Stewart's spokesperson who spoke to News 10. We would like to see this property one day have a single-family residence built on it. We thank you for your time and consideration, Liz Bastian and Amy Bastian, 4221 Council Road.
Good evening. How are you?
Sorry, I have lots more actually.
How many more do you have?
3.
Okay.
Sorry. I just had to read that one from my computer because she emailed it to me. The Schenectady County referral states our intent is to defer to local consideration on the use variance. We have some concerns regarding the site plan and would offer the advisory note below. I've attached the study we discussed. Advisory note: site plan modifications should be considered to implement better access management. Consideration should be given to installing curbing to better channelize the existing driveway and reduce conflict areas and eliminate patrons from entering the Ferris Road intersection from a non-standard location. Planning Board said at a regular Planning Board and Zoning Commission meeting held on July 14th, 2025, the Planning Board made the following recommendations. Effect on the comprehensive plan. The Planning Board voted 7-0 that the proposed variance would have no effect on the comprehensive plan. Suitability of use. The board voted 7-0 that the proposed use variance was suitable as proposed. They noted that the property was unique in size, shape, and use, and was most recently a steward's shop, retail and service use with a high volume of customers. They acknowledged that the existing building could be demolished and the lot could be used for a single-family home. Recommendation, the planning board voted 7-0 to recommend the ZBA approve the variance as written. This is a use variance, and as the highest authority, the zoning board, prior to making its motion, will need to do a seeker determination. The recommendation from the CAC, because the physical site is not being changed, the Conservation Advisory Council did not identify any major impacts for energy, utility uses, historic, natural resources, or stormwater. There were no changes in impervious surface. The focus of the review was the material conflict with the zoning regulations and whether or not this change in use would increase the intensity of use of the property or adversely affect the neighborhoods. On July 9th, 2025, the CAC found that the conversion of a retail convenience store to a restaurant takeout should be a less intense use. It was noted that Stewart's sold food in addition to milk, eggs, cheese, ice cream, toiletries, snacks, and many other items, while this use would be more focused on a small bakery and cafe. As far as changing the character of the neighborhood, the CAC found that the retail convenience store had been integrated into the neighborhood since before the code was adopted, so converting it to a less intense use while still allowing a small neighborhood business to serve the surrounding community would be supported in the new comprehensive plan. The CAC noted a use variance is a material conflict with the zoning regulations, but that is mitigated by the fact that it is an existing non-conforming use that is converting into a less intense use, and the conversion into a conforming use, single-family residential home, was not feasible for the property. The CAC voted 6-0 on a recommendation to the ZBA and Planning Board that a negative declaration be prepared. They noted the following items. 1, explore striping a crosswalk along Ferris Road and Council Road to delineate the road edge from where people would walk to cross the site. 2, explore pesticide-free pledge for outside maintenance. 3, encourage LED lighting, energy efficiency upgrades to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. 4, use dark sky-friendly outdoor lighting to limit any impacts to adjacent residents. 5, use native planting and explore more ways to add greenery and trees to the site. And 6, consider adding an EV charging station to the parking lot. Now I'm done, sorry.
Well done. The applicant, will you state your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, Leila Khafega, 1237 Beaumont Drive, Niskuna, 123.
Okay. How did you pronounce it? Kafaga?
Khafega, yeah.
Kafaga. Okay. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Ms. Kafaga, so you understand that you're before the board with the use variance and that the standard is much more stringent than our typical area variance request.
Yes.
You understand that you have to meet all the elements of the variance request. There's 4 elements, and you have to be able to substantiate all of those elements. Typically, with an area variance, we're able to balance the factors, but with respect to this type of application, you have to hit all the factors. I think that the first thing that we have to really discuss, and I'd like you to address, and I'm sure you'd like to talk about the project and what's contemplated and respond to some of the neighbors' concerns, and I appreciate that. But before we get there, because I'm not sure that we can move past the application if we can't satisfy the first element, okay? And the case law indicates, correct me if I'm wrong, that there has to be competent financial information that's submitted, okay? Typically, that would be appraisals, valuations, that you cannot realize, or the owner of the property, I understand you're not currently the owner of the property, can't realize a return on the property, a reasonable rate of return. And that has to be supported with financial documentation. I didn't see any financial documentation in the application.
Yes, so there's 2 pieces here. Stewart's closed because compared to their gas stations, the revenue wasn't there, so they closed, right? Turning this into a single family home, I do have, so I'm a real estate agent. This is my attorney, Ahmed Siraj. I don't know if you need-
Yeah,
this
my
is
name's
me to
Ahmad
say his name.
Siraj.
Are you the attorney? Are you appearing tonight as the attorney or as a,
I'm the attorney representing her in the transaction, but also assisting her with the application.
okay.
So we're both real estate agents as well. So I pulled up some comps around the area, looked into so the purchase price is 250,000. A demo in this area would be 20,000, let's say, give or take. And these are very conservative numbers. New construction build for 2025 in New York State for a 1,600 square foot home, which is the same size as the building, let's say, it's very comparable in the area, would be 350,000 on the low end, not including porch, not including upgrades and all the extra fixtures to a home, as well as landscape for the property is usually around 10% of the property value. So let's say that's 40,000. We're just shy of 700,000 in the area that in the last 6 months, I pulled up comps that within a half-mile radius, the homes that sold, the highest one was 417,000 at the same roughly 1,600 square feet. And the lowest was 265,000. So let's say it sells at 350,000. We're way over right now in the 700,000 that someone would have to put into it, not accounting for any extra that comes up. Now, we all know the history of that spot used to be a automotive repair shop. And with those kind of businesses, there was some contamination. There's been some filing that about 4 cases were remediated, closed, and approved with DEC. And there's some history there on the land that if you were to dig it up and convert it to single family, you're easily looking at 150 to 200,000 just in remediation. So that brings you up to 900,000. And knowing banks and loan to value, that's going to be very hard to get financed when the return is not there.
I appreciate what you're saying to me. I don't see any appraisals. I don't even see a comparative market analysis. I
Okay.
don't have anything in
I
front
didn't
of
know
me
I was
here.
supposed to provide that prior. That's my fault. I apologize.
I mean, it's a seminal issue from my perspective. I don't. Again, I'm concerned, and again, I want to hear about the project. I'm not adverse to bakeries.
Sure.
I'm very fond of eating establishments in this unit, but you know, that's a concern I have.
Okay.
Why don't you go on? You know, I don't want to cut you off, and there might be other people on the board that have questions, but I don't know.
It just appeared that you were reading potentially from something. Did you have a document that had that information, or where did that information come
Yeah,
from
I
that
do
you were
have the
just-
comps here, and then I researched some notes from the community for landscaping, demos, what's the average cost to do so. So I have notes here that I could give you.
Would the comps help it? I mean, I guess I'm just asking would it be helpful to look at the information that she does have?
I mean, I really think that the information has to be submitted in advance of the meeting to give us an opportunity to really look at it and be able to digest it. I hear what,
We
you
have
know,
people, I mean, I'm just going to push back a little bit on that because we have people that bring photos and different things to the meeting all the time.
on a
So-
use variance application.
Not necessarily in a use variance application, but I don't see why we wouldn't accept the information. If the board decides later that they need additional time to consume that information, that's one thing, but to just say that we're not going to accept it,
Well, I didn't say we wouldn't accept the information. I'm just saying I need time to contemplate the information. Wasn't part of the application. I assume you want to make it part of the record. Is that?
To make it part of the comps that
I have no objection to making it part of the record.
Your copy?
Yep, we can.
Thank you, Linda.
So why don't you tell us a little bit more about what we're waiting for the copies? Why don't you tell us a little bit more about the project, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. So I own a Middle Eastern bakery right now. It's a ghost kitchen, and we are in Niskuna. We've been around for 4 years. We have created a strong following in the community. People come from Albany, come from Saratoga, all around the area for for our bakery. We go to markets, catering, events, wholesale. We do it pretty much all right now. And as this property became available, I thought it was a great spot, especially within Niskuna, to stay here, right? My husband works for the town. My kids go to school here. I've lived here for 15 years. We love the community. I want to create this as like a staple in the community, like Mario's, right? So with that, I know the concern of the area. We drive by there every day. It is not the best parking area. It's on Google Map. It actually shows the parking lot is part of the road, which is very confusing. So I do plan to put some kind of barrier, stripes, lines, whatever the case may be. I don't think I could commit to sidewalks just because of the financial impact of that. It wouldn't be feasible. However, there needs to be some kind of barrier to distinguish that. We also do plan, if you go to the proposed plan, we want to create which we measured, and it could be placed. There are 3 parking spots for my employees on the side of the building, as well as our hours of operations. We do not plan to be open Monday, Tuesday, and we're debating about Wednesday. The reason why, everything we make is from scratch, and I need everything fresh, and that's a lot of labor, and I need my employees to focus on that while off hours. So during that time, all of our deliveries will be Monday, Tuesday, and potentially Wednesday. Thank you. Where it's not these huge trucks trying to pull into a spot where there's traffic in and out and it's just complete chaos, compared to Stewart's was opened, I want to say they were open like 5 in the morning to 12 at night. We do not plan to be that. We plan to be open 9 or 10 in the morning after that morning rush, and close a little later, 7, 8 o'clock on the weekends, right? So I want to be very considerate to the families and the neighbors around us, because staying up late, it's not going to be a late night cafe for young teenagers and college students and everyone to come 11, 12 at night. We plan to be considerate to the neighbors, staying open till about 7, 8 o'clock, potentially Christmas, the day before Christmas Eve, a little later before holidays for pickups. As well as for the traffic concerns, we are going to be on Grubhub, Melio, all the deliveries potentially have a designated spot for quick pickups where my employees will be like curbside assistance, so we could get traffic flowing a little better. So we are taking those into consideration. I also would like to put signs up on the parking lot as to no parking across the streets, specific areas, and kind of guide it a little more, because right now there's no parking guidance, and I think that is a huge concern. So yes, I don't plan on, outside of that, the garden box, we plan to put some fresh flowers there, make it look presentable. We don't plan on touching anything on the exterior or doing any renovations outside of the building, except for highlighting the lines, making the parking spots on the side, as well as potentially getting some seating outside.
I think in your application, you indicate that you contemplate this is operating. You're discussing a lot about the retail operation here. You also contemplate a commercial bakery at the location.
Yeah.
It seems like a very small building to accommodate both a retail operation and a commercial bakery. You indicated that you have a catering operation as well, correct?
Yes.
So I would assume that there's going to be delivery vans. You're going to have some kind of van or truck to deliver to catering locations.
Yes, those will be planned catering events, hoping to do a handful a month. We would have that. A lot of the catering events would be on off hours, when Saturday evenings and Sunday evenings, which we don't plan to be open that long on the weekends. So we would be handling those.
So you would be there baking during those times.
The baking hours will be sometimes around the clock. But we wouldn't have, like, if we're off hours, our sign in the front will be off. The lights won't be on, right?
Okay, and it looked like from the rendering, it seemed like there were like 2 ovens in the location.
Yes, we do have to install a commercial hood, and under there will be 2 convection ovens. We won't be frying anything, so we don't need a grease trap. We may install an exterior one per code, but We do plan on having about 2 convection ovens.
Just seemed like,
And
it seemed
a
like for a
stovetop.
commercial operation, a retail operation, operating as a bakery,
Yeah.
it didn't seem like that would be sufficient. I'm not a baker.
Yeah, no. You could stand them on top. So they're 2 ovens, so 4
So there'd be
4
separate-
convection ovens, but it looks like 2, but they're stacked on top.
Okay.
So
All right. And how many employees do you envision having?
currently right now I have 4. I plan to have 3 full-time and a rotating about 4 to 6 part-time.
And are you wholesaling the sales of the baked items as well? Other than
Yes, we do have,
you have contracts with
currently we have a handful of wholesale accounts and we're working on gathering more.
where are the supermarkets or?
No, they're actually restaurants. Restaurants right now, I'm working on one for a full cafe on a university, supplying them with food as well.
A university?
Yeah, the university campus that's working. That's in the process of opening.
All right. Is there anything else you have to add, or I'm gonna open it up for questions from other members.
I think I'm good for now.
All right. Why don't I ask if any other members of the board have questions?
Yes, Chairman, I have a few questions. First, I'll start with Laura. I believe for the purposes of what we are considering under the use variance, we are not looking at the site plan. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, I just want to have that clear so that as we were talking about or hearing about what the applicant is proposing for the site layout, that is not what we are considering for our purposes this evening. So going back to the chair's concern about the substantial, the competent financial evidence, thank you for sharing the comps information that was copied for us relative to the renovation cost of taking the existing building and putting your building in there. How does that compare?
Yeah, so we're estimating about 150 to convert this into a commercial bakery, compared to the 700,000. So the purchase price, once we negotiate it and finalize that, plus we're about half of what the single family would be. And we're not digging up the ground. We're not doing anything exterior to potentially look at remediation issues. So
you did mention a grease trap outside the building.
no, so an exterior one. So a standard grease trap is dug underneath. The exterior one goes under the sink, so it catches any of the grease, and then a company comes and cleans it out, like empties that tank out. So that would be scheduled obviously in our off hours. So
okay, but just to understand that it's not in the ground, it is piped or pumped from
it's
the
literally,
sink?
yeah, it's under the sink and it
Okay.
just kind of flows through the pipes. So it catches any buildup or any oil, which it's a bakery, we use butter.
Sure, understood. But that would be outside the building?
No, it would be
Or
under the sink.
Just completely
yeah,
under the
yeah.
sink within the building?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then we empty that out and a company comes and handles that. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
So with regards to realizing a rate of return on this particular property, have you explored the possibility of a multifamily dwelling?
No, I have not explored that.
Is that permitted in the code under it? Okay, so that.
Okay.
It's-
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Good question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think that's it for
Yeah.
me.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I got a few questions for you. So I'm assuming this is, for you to buy the property, it's contingent if this is passed in zero to none.
Yes, it's contingent on the team here
Okay, so-
approving it or not.
So it's You haven't signed any contract or anything?
We are in contract, working on inspection and all the good stuff that comes with the real estate deal, but it is contingent on all municipality approvals. Yes.
Talk with Stewart.
Mhm.
You shared some numbers, and according to these numbers you shared, how is it gonna compare to your business financially?
Yeah.
And how is it gonna be, because you don't own it right now? Usually, if somebody was to show us the numbers, they
Mhm.
would say they wanna upgrade it to something else. But I know you shared some, something from Stewart here. If you can explain to me a little more about the Stewart and your,
Yeah, so Stewart's was not able to provide me with any solid numbers on their financial, revenues and why they're closing. However, for me, if we do close and everything gets approved, I would be the owner of this property, right? If I'm going to open up a bakery, I have to drop about 150,000 to 200 just in the build out to convert a space, right? So in my mind, for financial and investment piece, instead of going into a plaza, paying lease, converting that, I wanted to purchase a property, right? So you have an asset right there, right from the get-go, for the business. Doing the build out and renovating it for the 150,000 we've overestimated for this size. We are anticipating a positive financial return on this. If it were to be converted to a single family that does not make revenue, that return would not be seen unless in 20, 30 years, all of our property values shoot through the roof and are worth over $1 million plus, which, hey, I would welcome that. But that is a very, that is a very unlikely situation for right now. Yeah.
so you answered my question. If this doesn't pass for you, you're not interested in property because
Yeah.
because that property, you wouldn't be able to make money if you were to convert it to a house.
I'm looking for a new home for my bakery. That's what it is. So if this doesn't work, then I would love to be in Niskuna. Not a lot of commercial opportunity is here to purchase the properties. So yes, it probably wouldn't happen here then. So
Question, this is a non-conforming property, so assuming they don't buy it, what happened? Because usually in situation like this goes back to an R1.
Well, it's pre-existing non-conforming is a retail store, and it's not the pre-existing non-conforming. It doesn't stay with Stewart's. So Stewart's could sell it as another retail business, and it would never have to come before the zoning board.
however, I do want to add to that, Stewart has a 20-year deed restriction on all their properties that cannot be turned into convenience, deli, or I forgot the other one, but a convenience and deli. And for all the offers they have received since it's been on the market since, I want to say, end of April or early May, don't quote me on the date, all their offers have been for a convenience store or a deli. So they have a 20-year deed restriction, which would make it pretty hard for another non-conforming retail type of business to come in, given that deed restriction. So, and that is a deal breaker for them in the negotiations. So,
But for us, look,
It could do a tenant change and stay retail in perpetuity, really. It's under the same rules as actually our code interpretation right now, that it can't expand by more than 10%. As a retail, but any kind of retail could go in there under our code because we don't have control over retail. But then if Stewart's could convert it to a single family home without a use variance. So that's why you need those numbers but then if you're going to take it from retail to anything besides retail, that's when that use variance comes in.
so what's happening
Or
here,
single family home.
in this situation, we're not going to retail.
Right, because if they went from retail to retail, it would just be a planning board action. And if they went from retail to single family home, it would honestly be a building permit. But if they're going from retail to some other use that's not permitted in the R1 zone, that's when it comes before you guys.
And what happened in the past, if a non-conforming property, just because a lot of people on the board probably don't know. So what would happen to that property if nobody buys it?
So Stewart's would have a year to bring in a new business, or we had some kind of shady characters that used to open the business up for like a day or two to get around the code and maintain its non-conforming use. But there would need to be a retail that went in within a year, or it would have to reopen within a year to maintain its retail, or it become vacant commercial, like vacant property, pre-existing non-conforming, and then even if another retail wanted to go in, it would need a use variance.
And the property could be used as a retail bakery, just sale of bakery items if there wasn't the commercial bakery going in there, right?
If there were no,
So
I guess the way
fee?
we consider a retail bakery is like prepackaged items, kind of. The reason we're classifying it as a restaurant takedown is because there is some seating. That's
Well, there
why.
was seating at the Stewart's too, if I recall, when they're seating.
There was seating for the ice cream at the Stewart's, but
How would that be different if they were just selling? I mean, I understand if they have a commercial bakery, they're baking things there, but if they're just selling things there, why couldn't they continue to sell items that are cooked somewhere or baked somewhere else at this location?
I'd also point out that Stewart's today cooks pizza at all of their locations.
And scoop fresh ice cream, and they are handling fresh food.
I mean, it's not just prepackaged.
yeah, Stewart's is kind of a mixed bag.
Yeah.
It's true. So the question would be almost, are we misinterpreting it by requiring it to have a use
I
variance?
guess obviously.
Well, then we don't have to have numbers that I'd really
Sure,
like
sure.
to see from the applicant. Justified to have the use variance. If he can show us the numbers, but if they don't need it, then
Right.
I think it's complicated, certainly, and some of the information that we've seen in the application and the recommendations that were made by the other boards and councils who have looked at this is looking at it as a restaurant takeout as opposed to just retail. So I think that's part of the important consideration that we need to make with this.
And it's not, it won't be a formal sit down. It's like fast casual.
But-
pickup. There's a few seats.
But
Yeah.
we're kind of going off on a tangent because irrespective of how you characterized it, if we were somehow to get around an interpretation issue, you still plan on baking there. So, you're going to be working at commercial bakery and under no stretch of the imagination would that be considered retail. So I guess I was just trying to figure out, is it something where you could be baking somewhere else and just selling the items here? And I assume that that's not possible.
Yes, because currently right now, the kitchen, we're outgrowing it. We're looking to move the operation.
Okay, so I just wanted to
and
clarify.
Make it easier.
All right,
Yeah.
so we'll stay with the applicant as it's written. We'll stop trying to reinvent the wheel here.
Mr. Chairman, going back to what I was leading to, I'm not seeing the reasonable return substantial for this. We don't have it. So what we've done in the past, that we tell the applicant to bring these things in front of us so we can see these numbers, we can see, and I wouldn't mind making a
Motion
Sure.
to table.
the table adjourn it and give the
So,
applicant time.
Can I add, are you saying?
Can I add so respectfully, I disagree on this particular point because I think that the applicant's expertise as a licensed real estate agent is relevant to the discussion here. I think she is qualified to value homes and property in the area. Otherwise, I would agree with you if the applicant was not a real estate
Okay.
agent, which they are.
All right, let me just stop here. So no motion to table has been made, so there's no reason to start articulating our reasons either for or against the motion at this point in time. This is just more along the lines of discussion. Your point is noted for the purposes of discussion. Let me ask the applicant, There have been concerns by some members of the board relative to the, we call competent financial information. Certainly you're competent. I'm not indicating that you're not competent as a real estate agent to come up with numbers. Typically, though, what we're looking for, in this case, we would be looking for, appraisals, certified licensed appraisers doing appraisals to appraise the property and put valuations of the property as a residential structure, like you're indicating, as opposed to keeping it as its, current use or prospective use. And I think that most people are looking at this and saying, including the members of the community, are saying, well, why can't this revert back to a residential structure? That's what the community wants. That's what they're saying pretty loud and clear. So I guess from my perspective, I tend to agree with Mr. Lateif. And I guess before we go, and obviously Mr. Dolman disagrees with that, before we go down that road, I guess, would you be able to bring or get appraisals to substantiate basically the arguments that you're making here, so that we have those numbers in front of us and we have them in advance? Because I'm not a numbers guy. I need to look at them in advance. I need to get my calculator out
Sure.
and slow down. Is that something that you'd be able to get us?
I could. My only, I would say, concern or pushback with that is to invest even more in the appraisal of a building where the comps are here. I would rather bring more information, potentially speaking with a new home builder and contractor. How much would it be there? A landscaper, looking at those pieces. Also, my biggest concern with the single family being put there is those remediation efforts that could go through the roof. So I
hear you with respect to
could.
the remediation, but
Yeah.
I think that's somewhat speculative. If you showed me something that said remediation costs, obviously you're not going to have a phase 1 or phase 2. I get it.
Yes.
So you're not going to know, but to me that seems somewhat speculative. I hear you telling me it. I appreciate that it
Yeah.
could be very expensive, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's not going to be
So
expensive.
can I share an example?
Well, I mean, if you have
Okay.
documentation,
I don't have
established that there's
documentation,
any
but
kind
yeah.
of actual issue.
But I
here.
know, so on Sunoco gas station, on Balltown and
I
not,
appreciate it can be astronomically expensive to review.
yeah, Stewart's had to do remediation and it was 400,000 and it's a small plot as well. I don't have, I could work on getting those documentation. That's not a problem. I would just need specifics as to what am I bringing back to show this, right? Is it just the cost of a new construction? Is it the cost of landscaping, demo, remediation? Am I bringing all of those numbers back and in what capacity? Like,
Well, I want to have a single family home constructed on that parcel that is commensurate with the area. Okay, so no, not a bigger, not a, Taj Mahal, just a regular home that meets the character of the neighborhood and what the costs associated with that build would be, and why that would not allow you to get a reasonable rate on return on the property. That's what I need to see. You're telling me it's going to be $900,000. I need to see that.
okay.
And I need to see it, that it's commensurate with the area that it would be built into.
Okay.
That's what I'm looking for.
If I may add a little bit to that, Chair, for purposes of comparison between what you plan to do with the property and showing it as a single-family residence, let's assume for that single-family residence that there is no substantial underground work, if you will. So let's take remediation kind of out of the picture of the comparison. That would be my request.
And this will help you before you invest in that property.
Sure. Yes. I feel like it could be hard to remove remediation because we're pretty confident that that is a concern.
So then can you submit whatever it is that makes you confident?
I have been asking the sellers for 2 months now for documentation and have not received that and not able to do a phase 1. So yes, and I have spoken to it. Part of the negotiation efforts. Sure.
Golden said he believes you, you're real statement, but we as a board, we need that in front of us.
Of course, yeah, of course.
We have a criteria, we have to follow it.
Of course.
And if we don't have this information, it's impossible to really make a decision.
And just so you know, I mean, I appreciate that the property is somewhat unique. I appreciate that it's operated as a Stewart's for a long time as a commercial property. And as a general proposition, I think that having, you know, additional restaurants in the community is a good thing. That just doesn't eliminate our need to do our due diligence with respect to this, you know, this variance. And there aren't that many use variances that come before us because it is inherently a difficult and intentionally difficult thing to be able to acquire. So
I would imagine also that the DEC has records on this property. I
Yes,
don't know if you have.
I do have those. Our environmental attorney did pull those. And there were 4 cases from 2000 and older that are approved and remediated. So we know the property has history of it, especially because the tanks are from prior to 70s where, let's be real, there weren't a lot of regulations. So we know that is a concern, and that's a huge concern, especially with converting and digging into the ground and converting it to a single family. So
let me just ask you this with respect to the environmental contamination. What is Stewart's going to indemnify you in the sale for any environmental issues that come through?
we worked on that as part of the negotiation efforts to get full indemnification.
They're going to affirmatively identify you for any
And
environmental
any
issues?
future sellers as well. Yes. And it wasn't their tanks. They've operated there for 30+ years. So we worked that into the negotiation. So it's also what makes it a little more beneficial for me to have a business there and in case anything were to come up. So.
Back. Is there anybody else that has any questions?
I do.
Mr. Daly?
I got a question. You came here with all this information, but no financial information.
Yes, I was under the impression.
In our
Constance did.
policy?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
Our policy
Mhm.
is we have to look at the finance. You could tell us, I don't believe you, I do believe you, all right? But I have nothing in front of me that says numbers, substantial numbers. And for some odd reason, you didn't bring it tonight. Is there a reason?
No, I was under the impression comps would show the resale value of a residential home there with what is known average new construction build. It is my fault for not bringing.
How long you been in real
documentation.
estate business?
Okay, Mr. Daly,
Yeah.
Mr. Daly, I think we're going off track here.
I'd just like to add one thing.
Yes.
The test for reasonable return needs to be applied to each permitted use. So in this case, each permitted use in the R1 district, which is single family dwellings and commercial agricultural uses. So I think just to add, that it needs to be contemplated that those permitted uses. So for each one, the reasonable return needs to be
On a,
applied.
Okay.
I'll push back a little bit on you there. It's like a half acre. It's not going to
Not
be a farm.
even.
Then it should be pretty
Perfect.
pretty
That's
easy
the
to
perfect
establish.
example,
Okay.
Right, easy to
Yeah, I mean, that-
argue that, but still it needs, for each permitted use, it needs to.
That's why,
Okay.
that's why an appraisal would, it's something, you know, analyzing it from each perspective could easily
Sure.
resolve that issue fairly quickly. How many permitted uses are there? I'm only thinking about a residence.
There are 2, single family dwellings and commercial agriculture uses, nurseries, greenhouses, orchards.
Okay.
growing
Which that's,
crops.
okay, so it's really showing the residential dwelling.
Yeah.
Correct, okay.
Okay, so I guess we get back to square one. It sounds like there's a substantial number of people on the board, myself included, who would appreciate to see additional financial information and have it in advance so that we could actually contemplate it, speak about it intelligently. I appreciate everything that you have come forward with. I appreciate that, you want to work in the community that you live in and establish a bakery. And by no means don't take this that I am against bakeries, because that's not what I'm at. I am pro bakery. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any members of the community that want to be heard on this? Okay. Why don't we? There's a member of the community. Why don't we let him speak?
Ted Thompson, 4210 Buckingham Drive. We were very sorry in April to see the Stewarts, from which we had purchased milk for 41 years, suddenly close. Obviously, I'm a newcomer to Niskayuna. Of that when the Stewart's milk truck was backing in, beep, 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 very audible to our home. Having retired from New York State DOT, I'm expecting, as has been mentioned, this is going to be a much lower intensive use on in and out traffic that we witnessed with Stewart's. I spoke with neighbors on both sides of my house and a couple others. No objection. So I heard objections to other things on other sites tonight. I can't say for entire, but those of us within sounds of the Stewart's beeping are looking forward to something like this development. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward, sir. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Okay. Ms. Cavago, just come back up briefly. So what I'd like to do, I know that there was some resistance on the board. I do want to hear more about the application. I do want to give you an additional opportunity to present at the next meeting. Do you think that would be enough time to get some additional financial information that we're seeking?
It's monthly?
Yeah, it's
Is
monthly.
it August 20th? It's a Wednesday, right?
So it's
20th, okay. Yes, that's substantial time.
Okay.
So I would have to submit the documents, what, 2 weeks prior or?
I don't think that there's a time limit on it, but
Oh, okay. Good
the
to know.
sooner the better, though,
Sure.
just so we have, although we typically don't get these that far in advance anyway, maybe we could. Yeah,
Okay. Understood.
okay, and that will give us enough time to talk about it, have questions for you if any, and ask you any additional questions. And we really just hit the reasonable rate on the return on the property. That seems to be, it doesn't mean that the other elements aren't substantial qualifications that you have to meet, but I think that that's going to be the one thing that stymies you from consideration until we have that answered. So based upon that, I'm going to make a motion to table the matter till the next meeting, which there won't be any application fees or anything associated with that. So let me go forward with that. A motion to table has been made. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, who seconded it? Nick got it first. So Nick, second. A motion's been made and seconded. Ms. Shichetti, will you call the roll on the motion?
Mr. Lateif?
Yes.
Mr. Dolman?
Yes.
Ms. Pacheco?
Yes.
Mr. Daly?
Yes.
Mr. Stein?
Yes.
Mr. Antonikowski?
Yes.
Chairperson Hope?
Yes. Okay, so we look forward to seeing you back in August, okay?
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. We have one more matter on the agenda this evening. Ms. Shichetti, right? There's only one more, correct? Yes. You call that matter.
Moved by Christopher Doges for a variance from section 220-18B3B and section 220-13 Schedule IC of the zoning ordinance of the town of Niskayuna as it applies to the property at 2420 Heartland Street, Niskayuna, New York, located in the R2 Medium Density Residential Zoning District, to construct a 12-foot by 16-foot shed partially within the rear yard setback. Section 220-18B3B states that the required side and rear yard dimensions for major accessory structures shall be the same as applies to the principal building. Major accessory structures are defined as detached accessory buildings or other structures in excess of 120 square feet. The shed at 192 square feet is a major accessory structure. Section 220-13 Schedule IC requires a 20-foot rear yard setback. As proposed, the shed will be 12 feet 6 inches from the rear property line. Therefore, a 7-foot 6-inch rear yard setback variance is required. 11 notices were mailed, 0 responses.
Sir, thank you. I want to first thank you for waiting all this time patiently for your time here this evening. First of all, there's an existing shed at the same location, correct?
Correct, yeah.
You're expanding the size of that shed.
Yes, yeah, making it wider.
Okay.
Yep.
Why do we need the increased size?
Well, when we bought the property, the sheds were on there, and it's old, roof's leaking, shingles are falling off it, and we were actually thinking about repairing it, but it's too much. So there's two sheds on the property when we bought it. We ended up taking one down because it was just old and but we just need we need more room. We just started a pickle business, and we need, room for tents, and we got kids' toys, lawnmowers, and
What
all
kind of
sorts
business did you start?
Pickle business.
Pickle?
Yeah. Yeah, we just got
Like
everything.
canning
all set.
pickles?
Yeah, making pickles.
I know from farmers markets, that could be lucrative.
Yeah, we're actually going to be there at the Niskey Farmers Market this
Okay.
weekend, so.
I digress.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff that we need to put in the shed, and like I said, we took that one shed
Increase
down.
in pickles, huh?
Yeah.
But we took that one shed down, so now everything is packed in there, snow blowers and weed whackers and all sort of kids stuff. And
Okay. With respect to getting back to the shed, I know that the distance from the rear property line that you need the variance, you're not expanding the size of the shed backwards, correct?
No, this shed is actually wider than the one we have now. The other one is long. Well, it's going to be the same exact spot as far, the rear setback's going to be exactly the same, and then the side's just going to be wider. But it's really well within the.
So you're not exceeding or increasing the size of the encroachment on the setback that you currently have.
And it's like I said, but when we looked at the Google Maps before the prior owners bought it, you could see it was there, and apparently they didn't get a permit for it. So we found that out when we were trying to get a permit, and so we're like, but yeah, and then we're contemplating moving it to the left, but I think my hand drawing, you can see it better, but we have like a little bump out. And if we meet the variance, so if you see, if we meet the variance on that little bump out, it's actually going to put it right up to the pavement, which our cars are right there. If we have 3 vehicles, we have a 16-year-old, and then my wife and I drive 2 different cars. And then if we actually move the current shed or move the location to meet the variance, we're going to have to end up going on top of our driveway there. So.
Okay. And have you spoken with the rear neighbor about the shed?
No, I have not. No, like I said, it wasn't moving it. It's not going anywhere different. So it's been there, like I said, for over 10 years.
Nobody's expressed any objection to, they've received letters in the mail. Nobody's expressed any objections to you?
No. Especially since it could be nice and new. This one's old and.
Understood.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask if there's other members of the board that have questions.
Just one question. So I do note that this new shed is a foot deeper in length. The last one being 11 by 13 and the new one being 12 feet deep.
Yeah, well, I think it's so when I measured it, so they gave me the 12 by 16, but that is the eaves, I guess, when I was talking to because we're buying it from I can't remember, Mohawk Sheds or whatever it is. But he said that's the eave measurement.
Okay.
So I'm assuming I didn't actually go back to measure it, but he said that's the eave. So I'm assuming it's probably about the same, and the height's all the same and everything. So.
Okay. And just to confirm again, it will not go any closer than the current shed.
No.
So if it needed to, if
Exactly.
this one's a little bit deeper, you would just slide it forward a little bit more?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Does the existing shed have gutters or drainage?
No, and it doesn't have a pad either. So, but that's what we're planning on doing as well too. We have a somebody coming out to do a drainage pad on it as well.
So for the new one, you want
Correct,
the
yeah.
drainage pad? Okay.
Yeah, and then while we have that out, we'll be able to take down, there's 2 trees that are about dead that are, almost hanging over our neighbor's yard. So we'll be able to get those out at the same time.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Is the back fence, is that on the property line?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, that's my neighbor's fence.
That it's your neighbor's fence?
Correct. Yeah, his goes, you see where my tree is to the right there?
The large tree?
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
large
the-
circle.
yeah, right
Yep.
there. Yep. His fence goes to about right there. And then our fence extends out,
Okay. so-
basically just connects to it.
Mhm. And the slope in your backyard, what is that like?
That's fairly flat.
Okay, so with the drainage that we were just talking about, you're not expecting it to flow downhill
No,
into
actually, it
the
should be
neighborhood
better because
line?
it is a little swampy back there, but it's off to the side and everything. But actually, with that pad, it should disperse.
Should
better.
help.
Yeah, because right now it currently has nothing. It just goes straight out.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Having heard no other questions, are there any members of the public that wish to be heard for or against this application? Nope. Is there any member of the board that wishes to be heard relative to this application and make a motion to approve or deny the application?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion to approve the variance. I do believe that based on the homeowner's testimony that he took down a previous shed, that it could not be changed. He cannot achieve the same means by any other result. I don't think it will create an undesirable change to the neighborhood. While it is substantial, it is the same impact as the current old shed, so I don't think that results in a substantial change in any way. I think the homeowner is very conscious with the drainage pad, so will have no adverse environmental effects. And while it is self-created problem, he's doing a number of acts to attempt to improve the situation.
Motion's been made. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Go ahead.
Mr. Dolman seconds the motion. Mr. Kenny, will you call the roll?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Mr. Latif?
I'm gonna vote yes for all the reasons stated, and I think we have had sheds like this in the backyard, and the applicant made sure that he had enough room for his driveway and the back of it, so he made the best plan for it in the back.
Mr. Dolman?
Yes, for the reasons stated.
Ms. Pacheco?
Yes, for the reasons stated.
Mr. Daly?
Yes, for all the reasons stated.
Mr. Stein?
Yes, for the reasons stated.
Mr. Antonikowski?
Yes, for the reasons stated.
Chairperson Hoke?
Yes, for the reasons stated. Thank you, sir, for the long evening. Your variance has been approved. Good luck with the project.
It's been interesting. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Take care.
That's one way to.
Motion to adjourn. All in
Yes.
favor?
Yes.